And a great, great Friday evening to all of you joining us tonight on the Marcia Week Show. I am Ferdinand Nichols, and it's a particular joy of mine and an honor, I must say, to be back with you again this Friday evening. Some of you may be wondering how come I'm on so often. Sometimes I wonder myself, but it's mainly because Marcia is traveling, and she has asked if I would be kind enough to host the shows while she's away. I consented to do so, and so you have to put up with me for the next several shows, and we're certainly looking forward to a great one tonight. We want to welcome all of you of the loyal opposition to the show tonight. Thank you for joining us, and please remember to share. That's the most important thing. Share, share, share. And of course, as you're sharing, make sure you give us that thumbs up, particularly on YouTube, so that our location in terms of accessibility to others will be high on the agenda from the YouTube perspective. So good to have all of you joining us tonight. I know my brother Dave will be along very shortly to assist me with the technological aspect of things. I must say that I've navigated, I think, a little past monkey handling gun. I think I probably have graduated up to. Well, let me be careful saying that because that might be disingenuous to express. But nevertheless, I'm getting a little better feel of handling the technology these days, and I'm looking forward to greater days ahead for me when it comes to these matters. So, good evening to all of you. Good evening to the entire loyal opposition, wherever you're joining us from around the world. And we are aware that several of you join us from the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and we are so happy to have you joining us tonight. Just again to confirm that you're hearing me a-okay, and you can confirm that for me, that would be great. Good to see you, Cecilia Miller, and of course, Teroni Hall. Really great to have you joining us tonight as well. Thank you for your kind comments and appreciate you so very much. Angel Humble. Really good to have you with us tonight as well. Yes, I will admit that show on Wednesday night, and tell me, would you guys like to have them back? If you'd like to have them back to discuss a little bit more along that line, give us a thumbs up on the YouTube or here. Just give us a quick comment and let us know. All right. Blessed, born again, blessed night to you as well. And Judy, really a pleasure to have you back with us tonight as well. Great to have you joining us. Queen B, a good evening to you as well. Thank you for liking and sharing, Queen B. Appreciate that so very much. Yes, change is coming. Queen B, one of those things guaranteed in life. They tell me is taxes or something like change and taxes, something like that. But change is a guarantee in life. And you mentioned that the Minister of Education needs to step down and let Miss Rose Corbin take over. I would endorse that 100%. Like how they're doing in the presidential campaign now. My name is Ferdinand Nichols, and I endorse that message. I endorse that, Queen Bee. She's very, very good. And guess what? We're going to have her on tonight, Queen Bee. She's going to be joining us tonight a little later on in the show. CG, good evening to you as well. Serlene Clark, a pleasure to have you coming on board with us tonight. Great to have you with us. Jacqueline Aline and Nat Grant, good evening to you as well. Marcia, Sabbath blessings to you as well. And thank you for being here with us. We do appreciate it so very much. And of course, it's me. You know that song, Good Evening. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. So welcome, it's me, FX Trading BB. Great to have you. And my good friend, Sir Alfred Benjamin. We missed you the other night, sir, and it's so good to have you locked on from Brooklyn, New York. A pleasure to have you on board with us. Yes, are we prepared, it's me, to reject Ifran Ali's arrival? I wish we had the time, and I don't know, maybe still, we might just be able to do that. But things have to change. It's me. things have to change. Judy, pleasure to have you with us again tonight. I agree. Say no to violence in the school, please. And we're going to touch on that a little bit tonight as well in my segment that I have here at the beginning. Judith Ann Clark, good night to you. Excuse me. Good night to you as well. And Sandra Watkins, a great good night to you. And now let me get this right. They love 3 pineapple 246. Okay. Blessings to you as well. Sandra Watkins, thank you for joining us. And Beverly Prescott, Hurricane Writer, Jacqueline Aline, thank you for letting me know you're hearing me loud and clear. Yes, thank you. Tim Ward and Captain. Good night, Captain. Great to have you with us tonight. Mystic, Angel, Lemuel Tull, sir, good evening to you. Great to have you with us. And Abraham Millington, good to have you on board with us tonight. Again, Abraham, thank you. Yes, they both were great. Absolutely, absolutely. They both were great. And Errol Callender, watching from Connecticut. Well, Errol, my goodness, welcome. Great to have you on tonight. The Costa Fields and Nigel Newton, God bless you. Great to have you with us tonight. Nigel Romeo Hinkson and Sharon Innes. But of course, you know, we're up to 271. We are 6 minutes into the show. And so we're going to roll into the show tonight. And as you know, the very first two things when I am hosting, I know definitely one that Marcia shares with me, but another one I add is the national anthem and excuse me, and the Pledge of Allegiance. And I take, you know, I used to say it as a child in school, but it's become more meaningful to me now than ever before, especially, and I'll come back to that. All right. So I'm going to ask Dave to get that national anthem ready, and let's together respect our country as we begin the program this evening. So, ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the Republic of Barbados. Yes, 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 absolutely. In plenty and in time of need, when this fair land was young, our brave forefathers sowed the seed from which our pride is sprung, a pride that makes no wanton boast of what it has withstood, that binds our hearts from coast to coast, the pride of nationhood. We loyal sons and daughters all do hereby make it known. These fields and hills beyond recall are now our very own. We write our names on history's page with expectations great, strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our fate. And in just a few moments, you'll be hearing us talk about the matter of the heritage and the craftsmen, looking back and seeing how important contributions have been to our landscape of Barbados and to our national development. And so, again, I want to welcome all of you that are joining us from around the world, wherever you're joining us from. Some joining us from Connecticut, some from Brooklyn, some from the UK, and it's a pleasure to have you with us tonight. Square Four and Tony Paris, thank you. Like and share, Tony. Thank you for reminding them to do that. Really appreciate it. Clive Osborne, good night to you as well. And Joyanne Faith, a pleasure to have all of you. Romeo Hinkson, Nigel, thank you again for joining us this evening. Now, as begin, well, first of all, let me get back to the national pledge. I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living to do credit to my nation wherever I go. There are certain words in that national pledge that I emphasize. I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag, to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living, not my rhetoric, by my living, to do credit to my nation wherever I go. And that includes Barbados. You know, as I'm talking to you, images of some of our parliamentarians are going through my mind. And I must say that I am weary of the foolishness of politics that we see continuously articulated in the House of Assembly. When are we going to get serious about engaging the people's business and stop the personal attacks and innuendos? We have translated ourselves past that, and politics can no longer be done in Barbados like it used to be. Things have changed. Our world has changed. Everything around us has changed. My goodness, we now have phones that are smart. They are intelligent. And so there is so much that has changed around us. We will not, I'm not going to say we cannot, we will not continue to do politics in Barbados the way that we have done it in the past. We thank God for all that has been accomplished in the past, but this is a new era. This is a new season. This is a new day for Barbados, and we do things differently now. And so I want to encourage you, to be faithful to your country, honor your country, ignore political rhetoric and mumbo jumbo and nonsense. Yes, I agree with you, Nigel. We are in danger. We are in danger of losing these fields and hills. Therefore, we have to demand an land holding act. It is important. Yes, it's important. When I drive around this country and I look at the things that are happening, I go down the West Coast, I go up the South Coast, and I'm seeing all of these blockages of sunlight going up all over the place, and mostly on the seaside. And then when I think about what is intended to happen on our way down Bay Street, all the way down to Bridgetown, these high-rise buildings that will block out, just like has happened on the West Coast. I cannot believe that we have sold out some of our most prized views. Do you know people travel from around the world just to view the sea? Do you know that? Do you know how many people wish they were close to the water like we are, close to the sea like we are? And here we have it. We can almost step off the road into the ocean. And here we are selling it out for all of these monstrosities that are going up. I wouldn't even mind if they went up on the land side, but on the seaside. And you drive down the west coast. You drive down the west coast and you can't see a window to the sea for miles. You leave Bats Rock, and from Bats Rock, the next break you have would be somewhere around Jordan's supermarket. And then from Jordan's supermarket down, you'll probably get a break somewhere around as you approach the turn to Holders Hill, and then from there down, all down the west coast, all down Sunset Crest, all the way down past Folkestone, all the way down. You don't see a thing. And then when you get down, I can't remember what they call that area, but it used to be a very popular area where we used to pull in off the road by some trees and whatnot and go in. I don't mean the one down close to Spikestown. That's not the one I'm talking about. We used to go there as to this area as children. But then when you get further down, everything is just blocking off the sea. What is going on in this country? Are we sleeping? Have we elected a government that does not care about these staple, I almost call it staple diets, staple perspectives of us as Barbadian people? We need, listen, we thank God for the investment into this country, but it's got to be controlled better. People just can't come here and buy what they like and put things up they like. Do you know that even today in the Cayman Islands, that is being monitored very firmly and very aggressively, and you have to be very careful how things are engaged even there. And Cayman is half the size of Barbados. I think 70 something square miles, somewhere in that area, 76 or 77 square miles, I believe. And they are trying to maintain the natural aspect of Cayman there. Even Caymanians are very vocal in standing up for these aspects in their country. And why are we not likewise? We in Barbados need to start opening our mouths and to get rid of the spirit of fear and begin to engage the aspects of what will maintain a country for our future. And so I want to begin this evening with just those few remarks. I'm going to ask Dave to run a couple of ads for us just before I bring in Mr. Murray. He's going to come in and join me in just a moment. And we're going to talk about a few things tonight. He has a particular direction he wants to share concerning one of the stalwarts of our political landscape in Barbados, and so we'll be going onto him in just a moment. But Dave, if you could run that video for me for the motorcade, that advertisement for the motorcade that is scheduled to come up on the behalf of the citizens of St. Lucie, sorry, St. Lucie. St. Lucia is where my wife is from, so forgive me if I bring St. Lucia in. But St. Lucie, yes, that clean water is a basic right motorcade on Sunday, October the 7th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I believe that it will commence from. Just let me clear here from St. Lucie's Parish Church and going through the parish of St. Lucie. All right, and listen, every we have this discussion, and I'm going to pop Glenn in because I want to get Glenn in to talk about some of this stuff with me. Welcome, Glenn. Good to have you in this evening.
Good,
Um,
good evening, Dr.
good
Ferdinand. I
good
hope you'll hear me.
evening. Oh, I'm hearing you good. Just make sure that you're on your headphones and not you don't have a speaker in the back, otherwise it will echo and come back through. So you're on your headphones, okay?
Yeah, I'm on my headphones. Yeah,
Good. And you're hearing me good.
very well, sir.
Yeah, I'm still getting a little echo there. Maybe your mic is super sensitive. That's one of the things you have.
Okay.
But that's okay. I think we can work with it. I can live with it, and I'm sure the loyal opposition can. But Glenn, welcome to the show. Good to have you on with us tonight. Say a few words as introduction as we go on tonight.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I hope we can end for a good night in which I can learn some things, um, probably teach people some things, but continue our program of enlightening and informing and educating the public on things that matter most to the Barbarian society. So I look forward to our engagement and that involving all the other guests tonight.
Well, thank you so very much, Glenn, and I really appreciate having you here. I was just chatting. I just wanted to advertise that motorcade. There is the UK Parliament that we'll be advertising later on in the show, where Marcia is going to be. And that's in the United Kingdom in London. She's traveling. She's gone up to the European Union to make a presentation there with regards to the LGBTQ2 plus agendas and so forth. And she's coming back through London to do a UK roadside parliament in London. So when we have that flyer, we'll put it up. And of course, folk, we want you to remember that young lady who is got that dilemma with the special water that she needs, and we want to keep that before you, and so that you don't forget her. All right. Okay. So Glenn, I was just I'm getting that echo a little louder from you. Um, whatever you did just now is gone. Whatever you did just now is gone, and so don't move. Don't move. I don't know if it's a movement you made. Goodness gracious me. But it's gone. It's gone. But, I was sharing a moment ago, Glenn, concerning the crisis we're having in Barbados with our land use, and the selling off of our prime, what I call prime property, beachside property, Glenn. And it's coming back. I'm not sure how it's doing that. But nevertheless, um, what I might do is I might just mute you while I'm speaking, and then when I pause, I'll unmute you so you can speak, so we get rid of that echo. Oh
Yeah,
no, that's me.
I suspect it's probably the sensitivity of
Yeah,
some. These are new earphones that I bought
yeah,
that
I
has
think
been giving me that problem.
it might be the sensitivity of the mic, because the mic is fairly close up, and it will probably pick up from those headphones. But that's okay. I'll try to work with it. If anything, I'll just mute you for a moment while I speak, and then you can unmute when you're going to chat. But I was sharing, Glenn, concerning what was happening with our properties on the beach side. And of course, we just saw that water motorcade. And you would have observed, and I think you would have heard Dave mention it, you would have heard Dave Weeks mention it, concerning all of the people who appeared at the United Nations and spoke from the podium wearing their country flag, or the country, lapel. And our prime minister did not have on her Barbadian flag. She did have on the Sustainable Development Goals pin. And one of the things about that Sustainable Development Goals pin line is it speaks about the matter of water, good, proper water. And, I would suggest to the Prime Minister that you take off the pin until we have the water woes in St. Lucie address. What do you think? You have to unmute. Don't forget. What do you think, right?
I think anything that can be done and quickly to relieve this enduring, sustained problem of the people in Salusi is worth doing. I think I, I do not understand the insensitivity of the government. I do not understand the insensitivity of the Barbados Water Authority, which is under the Prime Minister's office these days, which
Hmm.
could treat this as a casual event as though it's just a burst main or a little rupture somewhere. Where the quality of these people's life has been considerably
Oh yes.
degraded.
Oh
I
yes.
would not want to live that life at all. And what is infuriating is that there's no indication that they're taking it seriously. That I don't know
Correct.
if they probably want to think that make the people believe that everything is they are under control. But what people are not seeing control that your cam or what they're saying is what appears to be indifference, and that is
Yes.
the
Yes. That's
position
a good description.
really
Indifference.
indifferent. But then
Yes. Yes.
you talk about the government standing off the beachside land, the seaside land. But don't forget, there's a document which I've quoted from frequently called "Welcome Barbados," a big thick document where the Prime Minister has written a welcome message, in which she's written the most. These are the most ominous, frightening words ever heard our prime minister's mouth where development is concerned. Where she's saying that I paraphrase. He said that we have updated our 50-year Fair Oil Town and Country Plan Development Act. We have a new modern one, right? When you apply with a presumption to which you can apply with a presumption in favor of development, with a presumption in favor of development. So to me, that means that you can assume there's almost a foregone conclusion. There's routine, you're just going through the motions. And furthermore, to add insult to injury, she tells persons that if when you apply and it's not approved, we will write back to you quickly and tell you what you have to do to get the approval. So it makes it seem so easy and straightforward. What is so infuriating is that this rationale has never been brought to the public bar basis for concern. Has never been bunked. It's been put into the doctrine for investors. I guess they want they want their money, but we want they still have to, any investor has to come and operate and live in Barbados. And if you you want the money, and, oh, I
You
know.
you
But
you remember that one?
yeah,
You remember that one?
but at what price?
Oh Jesus Christ.
I've never seen any leader of Barbados have that easygoing, overextended attitude towards development yet in Barbados. I feel that each case should be judged on its own merits. Each application should be set up against the criteria of the Plan Development Office, all the right requirements. Each case, there should be any presumption. The presumption should be fair. You be fairly and evenly treated, properly treated. There be no bias and discrimination against you. But I don't think anybody should be that you a presumption in favor of development. To me, that's selling out. That's a pure. You're giving away.
And and,
Let's
and
go
mind
through the
you,
motions.
and mind you, Glenn, locals have such a horrid time getting approval even just for the development of a house, or an apartment block. You got to wait, and mind you, I don't know because I know a few persons in the the what was formerly the town planning department. I haven't got the new phraseology uh, nailed down very well as yet. So pardon me
Yeah.
if I still refer to it as the town planning. Um, but you have to go through so much. I know people who have been waiting months for approvals. You know,
By the way, Dr. Nichols, I watched the 7 o'clock news before he came in here,
uh-huh.
and the lead story was a big development. I think 24 room condominium project on Roadview, St. Peter. Uh, 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 24. So ironic. I think the name is ironic. It's going to block out the view. But
Oh,
that road used to be called Road View, which means from that road one could have seen the sea. Now here's another project going out to block off the view at Road View, St. Peter. So here we go again.
it's ridiculous. I mean, you hear the prime minister talking about amending legislation to make it easier for Barbadians to own land or something along that line. But when people buy land, they don't buy it to just sit down idle forever and ever. Amen. They either buy it to build on it or buy it to develop agriculture or something. Do something with it. But
Yeah.
so you encourage them to get the property, and then when they submit the plans, it takes like forever
Okay.
for
Uh,
for them.
I'm gonna switch gears slightly. When I first heard your opening salvo tonight, I thought you were seeing red, both figuratively and literally, because I remember I saw a poster of a red day.
I saw some foolishness come out. I was going to, Glenn, I was going to show it, and I was strongly reprimanded. We are
Yeah, but
not advertising nothing.
I mean you have national heroes there. You have um uh anti breast cancer awareness day, etc. Not Independence Day, but a red day.
Well,
Right now is a national symbol.
we countered. I'm looking for it. I don't know if Dave has it, but we countered. Dave, I don't know if you have that flyer with the black day. We countered Glenn with the black day.
That- but
Okay,
no, when I saw that flyer, I said, I remember late Prime Minister Renata when he was breaking ties with the BFP, said it's lost its way and it's lost its soul. I know add to that, if I might, it's lost its mind,
but but
especially if,
but but Glenn,
if,
I heard somebody. Um, I heard somebody. I think it was today during the Democratic Labour Party's presentation talk about how it was alleged or there was a rumor. I don't know if you heard it or if it has now been confirmed, but there was a rumor that the floor on which the conference is going to be taking place this weekend is painted red or some aspects painted red. Of course, we know what happened in Oistins with the $5 million uh, that was diverted from the Kensington Oval loan up at Oistins, and to paint everything up there red. Glenn, what is going on? And pardon the expression. And folk, don't get upset with me, please. All right. But Glenn and I go back a long way. Glenn, what is going on with our Barbados Labour Party?
yours, because I left them. I gave up on them in 2013. So you're still welcome to identify with them. I I
I am not with them. I was just being sarcastic.
okay. But the point, and first of all, I understand this.
Oh God.
I saw the a picture of the
Oh wait, it's like
supposed.
it's true. Wait, Glenn, it's like it's true. I
I
mean, look at
when
the picture that Dave putting up on the screen.
so when I saw, I said I'm glad that that wasn't done at Combermere because I
Well,
don't understand what insanity can drive. I've been wrong. When I was with the Barbados Labour Party, I've been with it on many occasions. We have had party conferences all over Barbados, where the color the party could be on the bunting, on the tablecloth, the shirts, but
yes.
never paint. And then you mean you're going to the conference is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you're going to report, you're going to repaint it overnight for school on
For
Monday.
school on Monday.
It's insane, and I think it's degrading. I think it's vulgar. I think it's offensive, and I think it's excessive. I was hearing something. I got a report that the CEO of the Barbados Labour Party was approached to explain it, and it was never confirmed or denied, but no responsibility taken for it. It reminds me. Remember last year it was when they had when they had a T-shirt, a shirt saying Barbados Day. There was a T-shirt being put out about Independence Day and National Day. The confusion or which day whether it be Independence Day or Republic Day. And when same CEO was charged about it, could not take could not take a position and say, yeah, we did it, we're responsible. The same thing I understand is happening now with it's talk about some contract kind of work. We have, a lot of mealy mouth talk, but the point is offensive. I think that should never happen to any school anywhere again. What's the point? What does it add? I think what they're doing, they're underestimating how degraded the popularity and the luster of red has become in the last few years. Red
Yeah.
no longer say this is not pre-18 or even pre-22. It does not mean the same. So they can't assume. I've heard about red carpets, but red floors, and you paint
Yeah,
it
well,
just.
but I'm almost running the risk of giving them the benefit of the doubt of it being red carpet, and because it would cost a fortune to put red carpet down in that auditorium. Cost a lot of money to do it
Uh,
when
uh,
people
uh,
are so hard pressed around the country just trying to live.
it jogged my memory. In 2012, there was a conference at Queens Park, and the idea was put upon that, and we did put red strips of cloth on the utility poles around Queens Park,
Uh
around
huh.
Crampton Street, up Robert Street, right up Halls Road, just to encircle it. But that is just to show that the BLP was in town and they were at Queens Park. But it never went that far. Nobody ever thought of doing painting the walls or the floor of the Queen's Park still shade in red? Why would you do it to a school?
Well, listen,
Anyhow,
Glenn, I'm excited to hear what you're going to share tonight. Loyal opposition. Glenn is going to be talking to us about. Well, let me see if I can find it quickly, Glenn, because I had it out here. He's going to be sharing with us very quickly on on the aspect of strict guardians of our heritage. I'm saying it this way, but this is not what it's entitled.
okay.
But I appreciate the guardians of our heritage and the craftsmen of our faith when we realize as a country. And I listened to the national anthem, Glenn. I was so encouraged to know that you're going to be sharing today about our brave forefathers who sowed the seed. So let me step out of the way for a little bit and let you have the floor that you can educate us. Folk, we're here to learn. This is really a compendium, I think, is what they would call it, more than a show. I think Dave would be happy to hear me say so. So, Glenn, the floor is yours. Well, you know which floor.
A red floor. Is it,
Well,
what's the color? What's the color of the of the
you
floor?
you could pick your color.
But thank you very much for your very generous
Terry.
introduction. The topic I've chosen is entitled Sir Henry Ford, much more than a political elder. Sir Henry Ford, much more than a political elder. And before I put it into context and before I go any further, I'd like to take this occasion to extend on behalf of myself and family and the Marcia Shaw family
Yeah,
and
thank you.
members of the law our condolences to the family
Yes,
of Sir
thank you.
Henry, especially Cheryl Lady Ford and all his children. Uh, I think he's left a lasting legacy of which he can be
Oh,
justly
yes.
proud. But I am especially glad to do it because for those who have not been around long enough to appreciate the name Henry Ford, the name Henry Ford has been well known in Barbados for many years. Uh, and he's no newcomer. And I wouldn't like to think that because you're not familiar with him, you think he was just an elder, somebody who's been there a long time and that's that. No, he has a tremendous contribution to Barbados. He retired in 1999, having first won the seat in Christchurch West in 1971. But he was much more than that. Henry Ford was a scholar. As a matter of fact, Henry Ford his passing has left behind a few members of a tradition where the leaders of Barbados were all highly qualified, quite high intellect, um, and where and they go back to I mean, they were all scholarship winners and warrior and most of them. So Grantley Allen, the Barbados scholar, Albar, an island scholar, um, Tom Mobb, the Barbados scholar, Erskine Sandyford, a Barbados scholar. Uh, uh, yeah, as I said, Albar. In addition, Oinata won a scholarship from Barbados to go and study his master's degree. So we are accustomed to that kind of intellect, and we have a tradition of people who some of our brightest and our best. That's the point I'm on to make. Some of the brightest and our best chose to either completely or put a part of their life in politics and uplift the Barbados, upgrade Barbados. And this was the time when university degrees were not commonplace. So people within this discovered to go about, many of them came back, like the names they mentioned, and put themselves to the position. They could have gone to law, or could have studied medicine, and made money. In the case of Sir Henry, he was a lawyer, a very successful lawyer,
Yes.
very successful, very highly regarded, both in Barbados and throughout the region and further afield. I may say that one of the things that stands out most about him is that he was well known and respected and highly regarded before he entered politics. And he's one of the few persons I know who left politics still highly regarded, still
That's right.
respected.
That's right.
I've never heard a serious question about his integrity,
No.
about what his sincerity, etc. So therefore that alone says something because especially the last 2 years, it's very commonplace to hear virtually everybody who enters politics now think people think they're doing it for money as against these stalwarts, so Grantley, Mr. Barrow, down the line, who made sacrifice of their own personal time to contribute to Barbados. And therefore, Senator Ford, uh, he was one of those, he was a terrific orator,
Oh,
spoke
yes.
well.
Yes.
And not only him, but all these other leaders I'm talking about, they never relied on buzzwords or Bayesianism. They had gravitas. They
Yes.
were serious. They had depth. They're good thinkers. They're clear speakers. Simple language. They're dignified. So they brought upliftment to the leadership of Barbados, and we benefit from it right down the line. So this intellectual um, did a lot for Barbados, and quite unlike what we're seeing today, where um, they spoke the only two people in the in the House of Assembly who speak, I would speak along the lines of how those persons spoke with the scholarship and the literature, from the literature, the language, and the tones, and the appreciations for 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 good books and good reading would be, I would think, Mr. Thorne, the lady officer, and when he puts his mind to it, the Attorney General Del Marca. He does have that quality. Other than that, and in the last house, I would think Prime Minister Stewart also fits that mold. And when you listen to them, you can learn something. You look up to them. As a matter of fact, uh, these persons who entered into politics, they do it. One of the reasons the French have a saying called noblesse oblige. Noblesse, noblesse, oblige, oblige. It really represents this where if you do well, if you're well off, if you're successful, you have an obligation within you to give back, to help people, to pass on your success, help upgrade the rest of society. So that the spirit, I think, that motivated these very early men who could have, they said, made much more money, could have died wealthy. In fact, I would think that there's only one prime minister of Barbados who would have passed with any semblance of wealth attached to their name. Mr. Granny did not, Prime Minister Adams did not, uh, Mr. Barr did not, Prime Minister Arthur did not. So these people they had a hard motivation from which the society benefited, and those who do not speak in those sort of have that approach, that serious approach to speaking and public service, I think is a result of intellectual laziness or limitations, they're not quite um, rise to the task. But Sir Henry, um, of course, like I said, he was not perfect, but he was focused on what he could do for Barbados. Um, he he uh, he one of his he also belonged to a group called, I don't know, you're probably too young for this, Freddie, the under 40s. The under 40s in the period between 61 and 66 when they were talking about independence. When uh, when when Mr. Bardi said he was going independence alone, ironically, there's a little bit in history. Mr. Bardi decided to go independence on after trying to forge a relationship with some of the smaller islands around us. It did not work out, so he decided to go alone. But he himself had wanted a federation because he actually ran for the federal parliament in 1958. After he lost his St. George seat in 56, he lost his St. George, right. He lost his seat. He won under the BLP in 51, lost his St. George seat in 56. So then when the federal parliament was on and they had an election to collect 5 people to represent Barbie, he ran as one of those. Did not get it. But Victor Vaughan, the man who ran in St. John, won one of those seats. I went to the fire party, and then Mr. Barry in the by-election in St. John, and I got that by-election. So it's ironic in a way that he wanted federation, but then he wanted independence alone. But that being the case, but these youngsters, Henry Ford, Asquith Phillips, Erskine Sandiford, Nigel Barr, uh, they they favored federation, independent within a federation. In other words, all that we've been trying to do since then in Carifta, in CARICOM, that's what the federation was supposed to do. So we're still struggling with the same concept, with the same objective. So
Wow.
and they contributed considerably because they were young men. Some were favored towards BLP, towards DLP, etc. But it never came through in the debates. They rose above partisan politics and gave a different perspective of federation and development and regional integration that was coming from other persons. Of course, Mr. Barr did not enjoy it, but that was part of the process. If you, to the extent that um, even that even that Mr. Sandyford, Sir Laurie eventually went and worked with Mr. Barra. Oscar Phillips was in Senate. So the party lines were blurred because they were doing it for the betterment of Barbados. And they gave a very uplifting, very high quality level of debate to Barbados. Used to attract crowds all over Barbados because they're offering something different,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The quality was there. Quality that we could deal with it, could do with now. Then Sir Henry was also one of the leading aspects of Sir Henry, who did a tremendous amount of Barbados. He was a hard worker, he was an intellect, worked hard as a lawyer. I mean, a tremendous amount of legislation that came through Barbados. I won't try to repeat the things that are well known about him, like the legislation to equalize the life and operation, the law of women, etc. Um, but he also he also made sure that everything he did had a certain standard about it, and reflected to the good of Barbados. He was foreign minister of foreign affairs from '76 to 1981 in the Tom Adams government, and he was one of the brightest sparks of the time Tom Adams Parliament. I'm sure you've heard the phrase "the Great Combination."
Yes.
It was given the name Great Combination because it's easily one of the brightest cabinet collectively at any one time in Barbados. You had Henry Ford, Tom Adams, Bree St. John, um, trying to remember something, and Nigel Barrow, in fact, some of them were so good that there was Louis Tell himself, who himself had won a scholarship to Oxford. So I mean, these are high flyers. These are political heavyweights, or maybe middleweights at that time because they hadn't reached their peak yet. But their promise was so outstanding. It was so obvious that there was even talk. There was speculation that some of them might become future prime ministers in years to come. It was so good. So that's a great combination. And I don't think Barbados has ever seen the equal pound for pound, number for number, as as in those days. And they did a tremendous amount of good work for Barbados. Um, Raised the level of a lot of development that you see now came out of the guts and bowels of 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 that of that of that of that group, to the extent that, led by Tom Adams, and one of the things that he always remembered about Prime Minister Adams was that he decided that he had so much confidence in the quality of his cabinet. I remember once he told the DLP and the estimates, you call it has been the government partner to call today. Tomorrow we discuss education, today we discuss health. He said, give us 24 hours. Tell us what head you want to debate tomorrow. Just give us 24 hours. I will debate it for you. They never took up the offer because I think Mr. Smith at that time thought it was a trick. But and then Mr. Adams was so proud and so had so much faith in the great combination that at the end of his first term, he decided to produce a document called Promises and Performance,
Yes.
where
Yeah.
where side by side, on the left hand side was promise made, on the right hand side promise
Promise
performed.
kept.
If it,
Yeah.
Purpose kept, if it wasn't kept, why the reason, right? And there were some people who in the party who told me should take that chance because he's exposed himself to too much criticism of what he said. No, the information is there wants to be performed. You have nothing to hide. If I talk about information, he's the one. He coined the phrase "open government" in Barbados. We talk about transparency and accountability, etc. He coined the phrase "open government." And Henry Ford was a leading light with the law, reform of the law, way of the law in that regard. And so we had the promise of performance listed. So that is the kind of quality team of Sir Rich Henry. Sir Henry was a part. But Sir Henry also a very affable, charming, agreeable man, articulate, um, obviously bright before being pretentious and talking
Yes.
out to people. Very, very engaging, always with a smile. But and he has been praised considerably for a lot of things in Barbados. So, but there are things. There's a particular story which I'll tell you, which I don't think not many people, the general public of Barbados will have heard. Because I worked with him in his when he became leader of the opposition. I worked with him at that time, and then 86, and then I worked with the 91 campaign, the 1991 campaign when he was leader of the Barbados Labour Party. I remember Barbados Labour Party had been reduced to 14 to 3 in 1986. Uh,
Yep.
I, I was himself, David Simmons, and Owen Arthur, who were called the Three Blind Mice. And
Yes, I
those
remember that.
and those three men took on the might of the Barbados Labour Party, of the Democratic Labour Party, and gave them a run for them on three men. So then the number of seats increased in the 91 election. But he led the party in the 91 election. And joined, and I think it was up by you. My mind tells me he made some revelations about the economy of Barbados uh, that had many people in the country upset. And I think the meeting took place at Market Hill, down by the gas station. My mind tells me that
Uh-huh.
is true. Yes, that's right. He he gave us that information because the then ruling Democratic Party and the Prime Minister, uh, Erskine Sandiford, was praising the performance of the Barbados economy. And Mr. Ford brought information to show that the Barbados economy was performing way below what it was said to be, and that if we were not careful, we could have been and would be on our way to the IMF. Of course, that caused consternation in society. The DLP conquered it and challenged him to prove it. But he had gotten the information. And this one, I was part of the whole scenario, so I know I'm talking about. It's not secondhand information from a source abroad. And these were not the days when doctors used to fall off a truck or there were whistleblowers. And because he had given his, because, or he had red bags and what, this was
Yes.
a different era. Where integrity and honesty and morals and a certain behavior meant something. He had given his word not to reveal even the institution from which this material came. And he was challenged to produce it, and he refused bluntly to give even hint at the source, the institution from which it came. And it was then therefore portrayed by the Democratic Labour Party being disloyal to Barbados, almost treasonable. Like he's trying to vilify Barbados name and give it a wrong side, etc. But and and I think he probably we would have done better. I say we then because it was part of the process at that time. If he had, because what was so ironic about it is that he stood his ground, stood by his morals and his commitment not to reveal it. Only to conquer that, Prime Minister Sanford, who was then Minister of Finance, said that rather than Barbados going to the IMF, the economy of Barbados performing like Gary Sober's strokes around the wicket. So once people said they was performing like Gary Sober's, people well, this is top notch. Mr. Ford cannot be correct. Only for some months after for us to go to the IMF and become part of that program, which had remember the reduct the 8%, that whole austerity program. I think it was a standby arrangement to or something like that. But so he was proven right. History proven right. As a matter of fact, because of his whole caliber and his performance, Mr. Ford, it used to be often said that particularly with the persons who work with him in government, that he was probably the best prime minister that Barbados never had. He was that highly regarded, that
Yes.
highly respected,
Oh yes.
which is a tremendous compliment. Especially coming out of a team that had engaged so many other illustrious persons. I mentioned Louis Tull. Louis Tull is retired also. Uh, Also, he's not in the public spotlight anymore. Nigel Barr has retired, and there are a few more around which don't really come to mind. But those were part of the kernels of the great combination, that of which Mr. Forde was a leading light. Uh, uh, he he won Christchurch West in '71, never looked back. He retired from it, uh, and
Well,
he's go ahead.
Glenn, if you don't mind me interrupting you for a minute, um, I regret, and this is probably the first time I'm ever saying this publicly. I regret not accepting Henry's invitation. We were on a flight back from Antigua. Myself, Dr. Williams, we had a crusade in Antigua, and we were on our way back, and Sir Henry was on the flight, and we ended up actually sitting together. And he turned to me, Glenn, and offered me, because he was going to be stepping down from active politics, and he offered me his seat, asked me if I would be willing to run for Christchurch West, um, and take on the role from himself. And I declined, because back in those days we were taught that to get to step down from religious ministry to do politics was a step down, and that we would best serve the Lord in ministry. But I must say that that was a sure seat in for me, and I regret that decision that I made. Be-
But
be-
in all honesty, I can see why you would have offered that to you, because you had the profile which would suit that constituency profile. But each constituency has a profile and an image, and you have to match your
yeah,
candidate well, as I say, fill the eyes of the people of that constituency. And I thought you given your personal profile in Barbados, your religious upbringing, you would have done quite well, I think, in that constituency too.
yeah,
But
I regret that decision, because he was such a man of integrity. I admired him. He was one of those politicians, Glenn, that you look up to, and you
yes,
admire, and if you could copy, you know what I
that's
mean? If you if
yeah,
you
that's right.
if you could clone, if you could clone, a phenomenal man, phenomenal. Anyhow, you go ahead. I just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, yeah, that's quite revealing. But I could see, knowing you
Yeah,
as I do and observing, I could see why he would have spotted the potential in you.
yeah.
But Parma's gain is Marcy Week shows Parma's loss is Marcy Week's gain. And you are still serving people.
Oh
You
yes,
you
oh
right.
yes, oh
So
yes, oh
the
yes.
objective would the object would have been failed in politics, because politics used to be considered, again and again, for Henry Forde, for Sir Grady Adams, Mr. Barrow, all those early stalwarts. Sir Hugh Springer, who sacrificed
Yes.
so much to build the U. All those who the founding fathers of Barbados, really.
Mhm.
The fields and hills beyond recalling.
Yes.
They are the one who saw it as its purpose to people. Um, there was a time when those people, when they ran for the house, they never got paid.
That's true. That's
Not a
true.
cent.
That's
And they
true.
would have had an election every year.
Hmm.
So you had to finance themselves. And that's why some of them were lawyers, because being a lawyer gave them some sense of financial independence. They could work for themselves and at the same time serve the public. And so that's why so many of them were lawyers, because it gave them that outlook in the outreach in the community, and a chance to be able to support themselves and their families at work. And that reminds me of something, that after these men became so successful, the Henry Forde, the Tom Mount, the Bree St. John, etc., as lawyers, Grady Allen, the camp in Barbados, you would approach 1976, where there was an upsurge of antipathy and amongst the world's lawyers in politics,
Yes.
and then people talk about grassroots politicians, because they want to show the contrast. Even though these very same lawyers were the ones who contributed to the development of Barbados to bring them to that point, uh, there was this resentment of lawyers, and people started about bringing. And I think, on reflection, I've been thinking about it over the last 2 years. On reflection, I think that was the beginning of people almost felt like anybody could be a successful politician. Anybody could be in the House of Assembly. Now, if at that time, I think between 76 and 81, we had when I was at the Advocate, uh, part of which I was the Advocate. There's only 15, 16 political parties in Burma. Everybody was forming a political party because they thought it was just grassroots politician. That was the era of Eric Seeley, the People's Pressure Group and Pressure
Yes.
Movement,
Yes.
all these minor parties, because people were, this was a reaction against the dominance of the lawyer class at this time. And I think
Was the NDP formed around that time as well?
no, 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 they
That
came
came a
later.
little later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the NDP came in after later is 70. So Richie Henswood won the by election in 78, right? And then he went to the House and formed the NDP. The NDP came between 86 and 89, I think it was,
86 and 89. Yes.
because
Yes.
the BLP had been in the opposition with 3 seats. They had the 2 seats at opposition in the Senate, and then some people crossed over from the Dems and joined with Richard Barr, etc., Peter Miller, and formed the NDP, and they
Right.
uprooted the BLP as the legitimate
Opposition.
opposition in the Senate. But I just to make my wrap up point here. I think the beginning that anti-lawyer movement and feeling and attitude um, um, led to the feeling that almost anybody could become a successful politician. And I think that, to me, looking back at it, that began to downgrade and reduce the caliber of person who were therefore prepared to enter the politics. And and you see some of it now in the present House of Assembly, which really is not. It's probably the poorest for quality overall, based on their performances, based on their speeches. Some people say they're not allowed to speak. I can only go. I can't. I don't know about that, but I can only when you base on what their pronouncements, either in the House Assembly or in public functions. It is a far cry from what it used to be, and the high standards set by stalwarts and icons like Sir Henry Ford, who was a living legend in his time, and fully deserves all the positivity that can be said about him on the political Barbados political landscape.
Well,
I
I'll
think
tell
that
you.
takes up. I'm following the clock. So that takes up my
No,
time
no, no,
right
that's fine because I think one of the things that in Barbados we need, because we're dealing with a generation that has come along now, Glenn. Persons like myself, I have to say that I am one of the blessed and fortunate. My era is one of the blessed and fortunate eras that have experienced what you're talking about and are now experiencing this new element of politics. But a lot of our younger ones, like my children, I mean, my children are up in 30 something years old now. They don't know anything about that. They've never experienced that level of representation and delivery and debate and discussion. They've never experienced that. The only thing they know is what they're currently seeing. But we have that. What I'm looking for, measuring standard, if you want to call it that. That's why you can talk about the quality of delivery of speeches now in Parliament does not match anything. And I must tell you, because I sat in Parliament with my mother on many occasions as a teenager, and listen to the debates in Parliament with Tom Adams and Errol Barrow and the whole gambit back then. I can't remember all of their names. Vic Johnson and Niger, all of them. Sir Henry Ford himself, Bree St. John, Lionel Craig, and of course we had the members of the Democratic Labour Party as well. Uh, Branford Tate, Morris King. You're talking names that today, if we call them most of the what they call them Gen Z, I don't know if that's the right terminology, wouldn't even know what we were talking about. You know, but the quality of presentation, and the thing about it, you use the word, Glenn, that I believe is lacking in our country today: decent.
Yeah.
Our politicians that I grew up with were decent. They had the cut and thrust of debate like nobody's business, but there was a decency that covered their cut and thrust debate. And you know what used to get me upset, Glenn? I sat in the house and I watched the debates and the cut and thrust and this kind of stuff. And of course, I campaigned. I helped the campaign in 1976. Richie Haynes was running in St. George North, against my cousin Fred Odell. Okay, up here in St. George North at that time, and I campaigned, and they won the government. The Barbados Labour Party won the government in 1976, and I went into the House of Assembly with my mother for a number of parliamentary, a number of meetings. And, I used to sit down and watch Errol Barr and Tom Adams going at one another's throats until one day I saw Tom gesticulate at Errol, and the two of them disappeared behind the speaker's chair. I don't know if you ever remember any of those days. They disappeared behind the speaker's chair and then came back out. Of course, I thought that they were going to kill one another, because of what we had just witnessed. And then we broke for lunch. And when I walked into the lunchroom, Glenn, my whole perspective to politics changed. When I saw Tom Adams and Errol Barr, Errol sitting at the end of the table, Tom sitting on the first seat next to him, and the two of them laughing and carrying on and conversing and whatnot. That was the level of relationship, decency, and respect that
Be-
we
Because
had in
because
politics.
it was an intellectual contest. It was not a personal vendetta against anybody. As a matter of fact, I remember once Prime Minister Adams and Mr. Barrow had a bitter exchange across the floor of the House. That's when it was Mr. Adams's personal assistant. And I said afterwards, I said, Prime Minister, I think Mr. Barrow had said some very harsh thing about Sir Grantley. So I said, Prime Minister, when people talk about your father like that, um, you must hate them. Huh? He said, no, guy. From the time I became Prime Minister, I did not hate anybody in Barbados. Everybody was behaving to me, and they treated that way.
Yes,
So,
yes,
so it is that engaging, open, respect for each other. Don't forget, a lot of them would have been went to the same universities, come with
yeah,
the same social backgrounds. So there was a mutual respect. But the point I want to make about the quality, one reflects on the quality of speeches in and out of Parliament in Barbados. If you listen to the ministers, particularly, sir, it shows a lot of reading. They do not have the facility with language and words and ideas, so they cannot communicate well. If you don't, one of the reasons why Mr. Thorne is so adept, why Mr. Barnes, because they're widely read,
yes,
read,
yes,
and so they
yes,
have facility with language. But if you only read the brief that comes to you, or read social media, and it's reflected in the inability of a chronic inability. And I know from my time in cabinet, you have to you have to develop the idea, the capacity, the ability to translate and convert an idea, a thought, into a program and a policy and work it through the system. Many of them, I find, just give musings. You know about the muses and literature who are supposed to inspire you in thought. They think and they believe. There is not enough grounding in research, in data, in empirical evidence, and authorities to give a substantial speech. There's too much whimsical, superficial, and I think that's part of the problem why there's I mean there's some ministry, the Ministry of Environment, like the Ministry of the Blue Economy. For years, I can't see a simple program come. No concept is. I can't see them. operationalize that concept yet and give it. I'm not talking about cutting down trees and cleaning up bush. That is a traditional aspect of does the bushing. And Tom, where you can see industries and programs and policies and operations, exports, import coming out of that their idea. So you have to be able to translate a thought, an idea into a policy and program and projects, which is not happening. I think, and it's a limited. Okay, some of the limitations and the criticisms we have of the 11 plus, right? Where people don't do well enough in English because they don't read, is reflected in the House of Assembly. Plain and simple,
Yes, yes,
right?
you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. You know,
So
I've
you only get what you put in.
yes, I found for myself personally, Glenn, that and I hope for those of the loyal opposition that are listening to us, I have found in recent years that people expect a religious minister such as myself to be focused in religion, matters of faith and so on. But what I've found with myself is that I find no alternative but to develop my faith into the realities of my life. And in so doing, I find myself researching. That's why I talk about the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization. I read up on these organizations. And so when the Prime Minister comes back and starts to express certain things in Barbados, I know that that is something that has been expressed by an international entity and does not have its genesis within the context of what is happening in Barbados. That was not the case in our past politics in Barbados, Glenn. What
And
Barbados? Huh?
now I was going to say that the Prime Minister is probably the biggest offender in that respect. The Prime Minister depends too much. Having observed and worked with Prime Ministers, having observed Sograndi from Sograndi onwards, um, there's too much. The Prime Minister does not apply the discipline of researching and writing. Tom Adams and Owen Arthur, writing handwriting their own speeches. They would take material but they went through and put it down on paper. That's why they would never lapse into something. Say you want money, you want money, you want money, you want money, because it's not part of the thought process. It's not put down on paper. It's a part of the structured. And I think her legacy and the Barbarian public understanding. I mentioned it later earlier today when I talk about a presumption in favor of development. That concept has never, or that practice has never been explained to Barbadians yet because it has not sat down or written down step one, two, three. This is what it is mean. This is the impact. And so you do not get a chance to put the actions, the policies, the programs, the product into context of that same enunciated program and concept because there's nothing to judge it by. I say so, and therefore it must be so. Is really not good enough, and therefore that is part of the problem of people understanding, appreciating, supporting for the because they have the base minimum of information on which to go.
And that's why this cybercrime bill, to my mind, is so very dangerous, Glenn. And I'm not talking just from the perspective of the freedom of expression, the freedom of speech, but I'm talking about the accessibility to information. Because when I listen to some of the European Union leaders, when I listen to some of what would probably refer to today as the liberal politicians, what I'm hearing is that they're trying to restrict the accessibility to information only to what government permits you to express. And so when I look at the cybercrime bill and I realize that it is a violation of many human rights positions in terms of its expression, listening, observing what I've read and learned in the Budapest Convention and so on. When I look at it, what I see is an attempt to restrict the accessibility to information so that you can only hear what we allow you to hear. That was the strategy, Glenn, during the pandemic. We're today, I heard some comments in the press briefing today. I can't verify all of them, and as a result, I'm not going to repeat them. But I heard of situations, or there was a situation referred to of people dropping dead. And it has happened. And I have spoken to a young lady whose fiance um, had administered the appropriate treatments to engage what we have just gone through. As you would know, I have to be very careful what I say with respect to this, so that Marcia Weeks's platform is not penalized. But she indicated to me that he took the recommended procedures to avoid certain things, and as a result of it, to get a particular job, and as a result of it, one day he came out, took up the keys of the car, turned to the fiance and the children and said, "Let's go and get something to eat." And Glenn, as soon as he said to get something to eat, he just dropped down dead right on the floor, just like that. Boom. And this has been happening quite a bit. And I remember the prime minister having a conversation with what's her name, Amanpour, of CNN. And in that conversation, she was talking about controlling the information that citizens receive.
But Freddie, they've been doing it for the last 6 years straight.
Yes, they've been
Straight.
trying to do that.
They talk about transparency and accountability. Talk about
So no, no,
they
no.
talk they talk about where's the Freedom of Information Act? Where is
Exactly.
that? Where is that?
Exactly.
Where are the regular? They had been in the 2018 manifesto. It had been promised that you'd get regular or I would say regular post cabinet press briefings. I read a paper something called Turks and Caicos Island Sun,
Hmm.
run by a Barbadian journalist called so work at the nation with me called Hayden Boyce. That
Yeah.
is a weekly paper, but they bring a summary of the except for matters dealing with except by dealing with security.
Security.
They
Yeah.
give a summary every few weeks of decisions taken by cabinet at the meeting. They decided that, they recommend that, so the public know what's going on. Right now, we only get the occasional glimpse of material from them when they choose in their interest to tell you what they want to hear. As a matter of rule, I do not take what spokespersons or PR officers or information specialists are because their job is to make their employer look good and sound good. Bring me somebody with accountability so they can hold up to scrutiny and they have legitimacy because they are bound by the law and they have responsibility to the public. That is why, for example, there's an officer now, a recent officer attached to Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education, which has been serviced since the 50s, but the Government Information Service still has, each ministry has government information officers attached to them. But then you found it possible, this government found it possible to employ a, what, an information and communication specialist for the Ministry of Education. Why? Why? When you already have a chief education officer, a permanent secretary, plus you have GIS, but this is just another part of the same fraternity, the
Yes.
three
Yes.
S thing. I mean,
Yes.
it is it's ridiculous. So therefore, we need persons. And part of the problem where the government often runs ahead with is that the people don't have enough information. The Prime Minister has held one live interview with a serious journalist. I mean, I don't mean where you comment on the sideline or somewhere you just get a few, but she sat down with David Ellis in June 1989. June, not 99, no, sorry. June 19, June 2018. June, July 20, probably July 2018. Because 3 months, yeah. For one interview with David. And I did not, and I'm not surprised she's never had with that because when David, as he should, and he, as a good journalist and a professor, pressed her on certain matters, on two occasions, she said, David, like, you ain't done this on one-upmanship. In other words, you try to show that you know more about what I'm talking about than me. So it is that contempt for the media that they therefore are able to control. And I remember, and one of the things I respect most about former advisor Avinash Prasad, I was engaged in once on a radio program, and I asked him, why would you refuse to come and give information to the public? I think we were talking about the confusion over canceling of pensions, people getting two pensions, they want to take it away, they'll get one, their hearts. He said that we decide what we're going to talk about, the rest we ignore. And they clearly live on that every day because there are matters, even in education. Even today, you get statements from the chief education officer, you get statements from the spokesperson. Where is the minister of education to come down and sit down and subject herself, humble herself to deal with the media of
Oh
Barbados
no,
who can,
oh no,
who
oh,
can
oh
ask
no, oh
questions,
no, oh no, Glenn. Oh no, 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 no. What's the word you just used?
humble
Was
themselves.
you see, that was an hallmark, and probably why I really enjoyed my exchanges with him. That was a hallmark of Sir Henry Forde.
Yes,
He was one of the humblest politicians that I have met, and I'm being very honest. In spite of all the achievements, because he was Attorney General, he was, I think, Minister of Foreign Affairs at one time, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. He's
yeah,
Minister of
that's right.
External Affairs, I think, is how it was
Yeah,
referred to at the time, and
yeah,
Attorney
yeah.
General. And in spite of his achievements, and he held such a level of discussion and debate that was just unbelievable. In spite of all of his accomplishments, you talked about that smile. I don't think I have ever in my entire experience with Sir Henry, you would have to know yours, I have ever seen him angry. There was always that almost like a perennial smile. I think Dave had his picture up just now. You could almost see the smile
Yeah.
there.
Interestingly enough,
Yeah.
except for one occasion, we'd had a very cordial relationship, but there was another occasion during the campaign where we clashed. Well, apart from that, he'd always been very engaging and whatnot, and very open to
Yeah.
public.
Yeah.
And that's the hallmark of communicating with the public and showing respect
Yeah.
for the public.
And there it is. Look at that. Look at his face. Look, it's almost that. It's almost
But
an
but
embedded smile
yeah,
on it.
further
You
before we finish,
know.
for those who are listening, especially the younger ones who are listening to this discussion, and hear the exalted heights to which you established the name Sir Henry Ford. Sir Henry Ford was born with very humble beginnings
Oh
in
yes.
Water Street, Christchurch. But
Yes.
he rose to illustrious heights in Barbados and beyond. But that never phased him. That never made him
No.
forget.
No.
You'd always refer to his beginnings and treat people
With
as they
such
should be treated
respect.
with respect and whatnot.
Yes.
So it is
Yes.
possible. It's possible to do more.
Yes.
And the arrogance and whatnot that Sally envelops these people really was not known. At least for him, that was not his that was not his metal, his being and whatnot.
Yes. No, you're absolutely correct. And Glenn, I'll tell you. I just recently, just about a week or two ago, I turned to my wife and I said, but I have to find out what's happening with Sir Henry Ford because I haven't heard anything about him for a long time. And then, of course, we heard the news, and I
Yeah,
appreciate you extending condolences on behalf of our panel and Marcia and the entire loyal opposition. I appreciate you extending to his family our condolences. But Glenn, I'm going to ask you to just stay with us. Don't disappear
sure,
from us. Because one of the things I want to treat to before I bring Rose in. I know Rose has been having a very, very busy day, and I'm so grateful that she's been able to make it with us. And I'll be bringing her in just a moment to join you and myself. But one of the things Glenn, that I have really appreciated is learning, sitting at your feet and learning a lot of what we may not have paid attention to and benefited from as we look at. And I go back to the words of the national anthem. These fields and hills beyond recall. I go back to our brave forefathers that sowed the seed from which our pride is sprung. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity that I had to interact with so many of the members of that era, and I thank God for that. Yeah, very quickly, just a couple of announcements here that we want to share with you. The young lady that needs to get that water, we want to continue to encourage you to assist us with her, with the water. We are hoping that we can get a monthly situation established for her, at least to get her on her feet and get her moving. And your preference, if you prefer to buy the water, you see it there on the screen. You can do so, and you can take it over to Unity Workers Union on 6th Avenue in Belleville, to their office, and she can collect it from there. And if you prefer to assist her with a monetary donation, you can do so. Just place it in an envelope, and you get it to the Unity Union office. You can leave it there as well. Okay, so we don't want to lose sight of her plight, her situation. Then, of course, the motorcade that we're having on Sunday, October the 27th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon for the residents of St. Lucie. Clean water is a basic right motorcade, and this has been sponsored, well, not sponsored, initiated by Mr. Strickland from St. Lucie. He was on with us on Wednesday evening, and we want to all of us to be a part of that motorcade. We deserve, I think, one of the segments of the, and I'm just trying to pull it up here, of the sustainable development pin and sustainable development programs is treats to the matter of water. And I would have heard me mention a little earlier that we haven't seen our prime minister wear it, our national pin, our national flag. And Glenn, as I do that pledge, at the start of the program, I remember from a child, I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag. And whenever I have been involved in ministry overseas, or particularly outside of the Caribbean, I would always wear my Barbados flag,
Yeah.
to let people know. I was very proud of it, and I still am very proud of being a Barbadian. Okay, so
There's no accident that every country in the world has a flag or some
yeah,
symbol,
yes,
because you need those symbols to create identity, visual
correct,
identity, and
correct,
build the spirit of patriotism and nationhood and whatnot.
yes,
So that is why they're so important. They're not accidental. They're not part of your fashion. That's not a fashion statement. That's part of your identity, your being as a representative of
yes.
your country.
Yes. And then this one on the screen right now, particularly for those of you that are in the UK that may be watching this show, I did see a couple of persons from the UK on the 21st of October. That is this coming Sunday, I believe that is. Tomorrow's the 19th, 21st is Monday, I think, is it?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, Monday.
I think
Yeah, Monday
21st is
21st.
Monday.
Right.
You're going to be having a roadside parliament in London with Marcia. Okay, so if you're watching from the English diaspora, you have the opportunity to meet Marcia in person, to connect with her, and she'll be there along with a cadre of these young, wonderful young people: Dawn Marie Armstrong, June Dixon, Ricardo Eversley, Leah Afia. She's going to be hosting the roadside parliament, and it's going to be on Monday, the 21st, time 6 o'clock in the evening at the St. John. Just make that a little bigger for me. Thank you, Dave. The St. John, the Divine Kennington Centre on 21 Frederick Crescent in London. And so we're encouraging you to go on out and connect with her, so that you are able to interact with her and share some of the things with her. And incidentally, as I am on the subject, Glenn, of Marcia, let us make it clear that this show, while it carries her name, is not about Marcia Weeks. It's about, I think the word that Dave used was a word called compendium. Glein, and I looked up the definition of compendium, and it says a collection of concise but detailed information about a particular subject, especially in a book or other publication. And we bring persons like yourself, Rose, coming in just a few moments to help to educate us and help to expose some of the things that are not being dealt with. And so when I hear the Attorney General, um, kind of, and the media, and probably members of the government wanting to focus on her. When we talk about the members of parliament, we don't do so ignorant of who they represent, Glenn. I don't see 30 or 40,000 people sitting in parliament. I see one representative. And so
Yeah,
if you can take that position with a parliamentarian, why are you trying, especially as we're taking on this cybercrime bill, why are you trying to make it look like it's just Marcia Weeks? It's not
because it's easy. It's very easy and convenient and simple to
for
be able
them
to
to do
to
that.
demonize one person.
Yes.
Take
And
that person out, demonize, verify. It's easy to do that. Rather than the law lavish a group of persons,
yes.
which is so that is why.
And you know what I've discovered? I discovered, Glenn, that I was looking through some of the cases uh, that were heard at the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, that as a result of them being heard there, made their way to the Inter-American Court of Human Rights. And where the Attorney General is suggesting to the Barbadian public almost like, oh, don't mind us, don't mind them, nobody going to take them seriously. That's just a
But
hearing, nothing binding
Ferdy,
on the government.
Ferdy, I'm told that the announcement that with the that the group had the concerned group had been invited to appear before the commission caught them off guard, totally by surprise, because they thought that the protestations and the discussion of what was being said was stay local and not going any further. So now they have to set up and pay attention. And I mean, it is always once you read about it that it was said very early that it is an advisory, it is not, it's not a court, it's a commission which makes recommendation, right? But the
Hmm.
point is, we are not, the group is not going to be appearing before the International Human Rights Commission of the OAS. It's going to be there with the Court of Public Opinion
Oh dear. Oh dear.
regionally,
That's
Latin
right.
America, into
Yes,
that
sir.
is where you
Yes, sir.
remember. You see, you have to you remember years ago we had a big Barbados had a very thriving trade in exporting green monkeys to North
Yeah.
America
Yeah.
for research by scientists in the various things.
Mhm.
And the word we had there's a man called the reserve, the wildlife reserve in St. Peter, run by a man called Jean Belou. He ran it, and we did very well, made lots of money. But then the animal rights advocates got hold of that. I used it to beat Barbados' reputation among the human rights, the animal rights fraternity of the world, to discourage them from visiting in Barbados and the result, right? So and that eventually killed off that trade, right? You no longer export because of the public opinion, the court of public opinion, which really is the people of
Yes.
society. So the same thing that happened to that can very well happen to this. So what you
Yes.
talk about is not a court. We're not even a court. We're the court of public opinion, which we get to see a different side of Barbados. And they will don't have to answer, because I'm sure they'll be challenged in various fora about it. And then they'll have to deal at that level, and that is what they have to deal with now. So the game has changed. They have upped the ante, and they now have to rise to the occasion and try to come to that.
And Rose, it's so good to see you with us tonight. And I'm going to be right on you in just a moment. But I want to read something. I want to read Article 13, Glenn, from the American Convention on Human Rights, because this is one of the things that will be coming up when the presentation is made. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought and expression. This right includes freedom to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas of all kinds regardless of frontiers, either orally, in writing, in print, in the form of art, or through any other medium of one's choice. The exercise of the right provided for in the foregoing paragraph shall not be subject to prior censorship. This is Article 13 in the American Convention on Human Rights. And so we know we are on solid ground, Glenn, Rose. We know we are on solid ground as we go to the Inter-American Commission. And when we review the number of articles in the international agreements and so on to do with freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. One of my colleagues in speaking with regards to it, Reverend John Carter was speaking concerning the fact that a preacher delivering a sermon that touches on the consequences of an unrepentant life or speaks to the concept of eternal punishment in hell, it's possible that some leaders may find the message anxiety inducing or distressing. And he said on to this bill, if a person were to experience emotional distress after hearing a sermon, they could potentially take the preacher to court, claiming that it caused substantial emotional distress or anxiety. And as a result, that preacher could potentially find themselves on the receiving end of $100,000 fine and or 10 years in jail. Now that is madness. That is a disrespect and an ignoring of international standards when it comes to human rights. So we are going to be taking it all the way, and the delegation is going to be leaving when the delegation is ready. Is our business when we're leaving. I do know that when I say we, I'm talking about the Marcia Weeks show, because nobody knows who is on the delegation. Okay. Any of the loyal
But
opposition here could be on the delegation.
for they just want before I close, I don't want to take in consume any more of Rose's time. But I just want your expansive explanation and quotation of that part of the human rights should be put in the context that we already have a well established defamation law in
Yes,
Barbados.
yes,
And
yes.
I've been trying, I meant to check with a lawyer. And when they talk about charges about $100,000, nobody know in Barbados for any act of libel or defamation has ever gone near $100,000. None, right? I mean, in the media, etc., maybe 30, 40, 50. I don't remember. Not certainly never 100. There's no body in Barbados, a single person or institution who probably think that their reputation is that highly valued to be 100,000 Barbados as a penalty, as a settlement for. So this is overreaction,
Yeah,
and
knee
I think
jerk, knee jerk, knee jerk.
what I would say is that in the same way we are calling for lessons in anger management for our children, for our people, I think we should start developing lessons in how to deal with hurt feelings and disappointment to build the psychological strength rather than try to criminalize people for just freedom of expression. Grow up, give them
Thank
inner
you,
strength,
thank you.
psychological strength. Maybe we can make some money out of that and come up with a program for a
Well,
patent to make some money.
well, up to this morning, Glenn, I was talking about this matter of hurt and all the hurt I have gone through and all this kind of stuff. You know what? It's made me the man I am today. You know what I'm saying? I have
Kadir,
navigated through that. I've gone through all of that. It's made
as
me
your
a
mother would tell you,
stronger man.
Kadir,
Yes, I know.
Kadir.
Rose, so good to have you with us. And I don't know what ball you're going to deliver this evening. Glenn already had the opening over, and I can tell it was paced like fire. I watched batsmen ducking. Fellas went to play forward only to find the ball rising so sharp they had to drop down on the ground. So I don't know what your over is going to be bringing with us tonight. But welcome to the Marcy Week Show. We look forward to hearing from you tonight.
Thank you, Pastor Forde. And it's a pleasure to be here with you and to be with Mr. Murray Glenn. It's always such an interesting um, discourse that he brings each time. So I am pleased to be part of tonight's group with you and Mr. Murray. I learned so much. I learned so much, and I love the opportunity given to us through this medium, through this platform. So, good night, Glenn, and good night, Pastor Forde.
Yeah, good night, Rose. Good to see you
Good
too.
night. Good night. Good
Thank
night.
you. And good to, may I take this opportunity to say my apologies for not coming on at 8, but
That's
uh,
okay.
you know what I had
Yes.
explained to you,
Yes.
the unexpected uh, event and that required our attention. And I want to say good evening to the loyal sons and daughters, all firm craftsmen of our faith. I, good night, thank you. I did not have time to do my usual preparation, but I'm glad that I can speak. I'm going to chat with you. I'm going to engage with you, both Glenn and Pastor Forde, as well as with our listeners. And I have found that since coming, first, let me extend condolences to the family and indeed to the BLP family uh, on the passing of Sir Henry Forde. I
Yes.
do so on behalf too of my husband and my brother-in-law, um, Professor David Corbin, and from a family perspective, my father-in-law served as permanent secretary for many years to Sir Henry Forde when he was the Attorney General.
Wow.
And they always had a very respectful um, relationship in and within the work environment and otherwise. On another note, Sir Henry Forde was adopted by Madame Eiffel. Those of you who don't know, my maiden name is Eiffel. And Madame Eiffel's husband was my great great
Wow.
uncle, my grandmother's uncle. Her husband, Uncle Courtney, was married to Madame Eiffel. And so Sir Henry Forde, the late Sir Henry Forde, was raised by Madame Eiffel and my great great uncle. So I
Wow.
would believe that some of the genteel um, disposition, the genteel conduct, the gentlemanly conduct that of the late Sir Henry Forde would have been engendered within that household. So my condolences on behalf of the Corbin family, my husband, my brother-in-law, myself, as well as, let's say, from the Eiffel side too, our condolences to all those who mourn his loss and remember him. And he subsequently served on many occasions as the legal representative for my late grandmother. So it continued
Wow.
many. I know as a child going to his office right there by the old T. Herbert building on Synagogue Lane. Remember
Yes.
that
Yes.
place? Yes,
Yes.
I remember going up those rickety wooden steps to his office,
Uh,
and always the manner in which she would greet my grandmother, who would dispose of yams and potatoes and arrows and bananas from the country for Sir Henry Forde. At that time, he wasn't even a member of the BLP. I wish that some of his conduct would have rubbed off on those who remain within the DLP, but I don't see it.
Oh,
I don't see it. And this makes my entry now into tonight's sharing. I have 3 words here. I don't have notes really, just a little notepad scribbled. And the 3 words, yes, it started with condolences, but the other 3 words are concern, consternation, and contemplation. And that's all that when I reflect on my contributions to the Martyr Week show, I can't remember any time when we did not come to the show to make a contribution based on concerns, based on consternation for our country, and reflecting on our contemplation. Barbados has become a sad place in terms of governance, in terms of treatment of people. We've lost our direction. And this week for me, not that I am anywhere a snob, but we do cherish the schools that we have attended, don't we?
yes, we do.
So I would hear Glenn talking about what do they say at Combermere, and the Glenn that you all have entrenched in the minds of students. What up and on? Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't
And
remember mine at Harrison College.
The song is "Lives Are in the Making Here, Hearts
there
in the
you
Making Here." Up and on, up and on. So it's an inspiring, uplifting. And for those who are listening and watching, there are no formal lessons in being a commemorate. Nobody sits down and points at you. You go there and you expose and you absorb it. You take it up. You just take up the Cormier ethos and certain principles which you hopefully exemplify in the rest of your life. But that's a summary of the Cormier indoctrination, as you think that we do. There's no indoctrination. There's no spreading, lessons to the people. They're no less this or do. You just learn it as a part of a general way of life, how to live, how to engage, how to interact.
yes, and we all are proud. I have no qualms, no reservations about our love for the school that we've attended. Similar to you, Pastor Forde, you have a respect for Harrison College, isn't it?
Oh yes,
And
I schooled there. I schooled there for several years. I remember the bell tower and my big tree in the middle of the yard that we sat around on the tamarind tree that I raided on a regular basis. Oh yes, fond memories, fond memories.
and so I'm not saying because that there are elitist schools, it may seem so, but when you enter, there is something that draws you together. All may not have been perfect. Some of us may have been treated differently. We might have seen preferential treatment shown to others, but that's where we were schooled. And therefore, this week, I it was very sobering for me. I know that all schools have problems. Some problems are more concealed, more contained within the environment. You know, people close ranks. But this week, when I heard that the St. Michael's School, and you all would have heard me back and forth with Kimar, how we have that camaraderie. Although Kimar is old enough to be my baby boy, he would have been a baby boy if I had a baby his age. And but there's that fraternal thing. And then when I heard this week of that stabbing at St. Michael's School, it was like my school, where I went as a Law 1 girl in 1967, my school, where I have my school tie in my wardrobe. Come find the old one I went last year, bought a new one, wore to school sport, where I have my school pen, my school. What's happening? And then soon on the heels of that, I saw the video circulated at the foundation school.
Yes.
And Pastor Forde and Glenn and those who are listening, what made me play over and over again, when I saw the anger of that young man, how he beat up on that girl, I was waiting for him to kick her. All was left for that young man to do was to kick that girl. I laud the teacher for trying her best to control and separate. We're told that the Ministry of Education has advised that in cases like that teachers do not intervene, do not intercept, they do it at their own risk. Similarly, peers. I laud her.
Yes.
I say thank you, ma'am, whoever you are. She tried. But you notice that the children seem to have become desensitized, to use the Prime Minister's word, like she was speaking about crime on the world, you know, what's happening between Israel and the Palestinians, Palestine, and desensitizing and becoming numb to violence. I looked and I saw that there were children just sitting minding their own business. Is that what we've become? That bothers me. And at the same time, I am told that there is going to be the BLP annual conference at the same foundation school, and that they have painted the floor of the hall red. At the same time, there seems to be, well, maybe the Ministry of Education has become numb, disconnected from what's happening, and so they can go on to paint the town red. You know that expression, don't you?
Yes, I do.
I am not speaking lightly. I do not take bullying lightly. I was bullied for the best part of my years in that same church village that I love very much, Church for St. Philip, particularly by one female From primary school, we went on to St. Michael's Girls together, and it continued until I left the village at age 23. And if you look closely in my forehead, I have a scar from a rock thrown by her. I have a very gentle spirit, but she forced me to fight her, that even the neighbors could not contain me. She bullied me. We went to the same Sunday school, the same church. We went to the same shop. She bullied me on the way to the bus stop, bullied me at the bus stop, bullied me on the bus, and she had her team with her. She bullied me walking from the bus stop to St. Michael's School. She was a year ahead, but she bullied me at St. Michael's School. She bullied me from walking to the school to catch the bus, on the bus, and it was a cycle. You went to Sunday school, the same thing. That is why I want something done about bullying in schools. I have experienced it, and it created a fear in me for years into my adulthood.
Yep.
And I have some suggestions, but just let me step back to the contradictions I am seeing. Note that I extended condolences to the BLP family over the loss of Sir Henry Forde. That is where lines are suspended, and there is a community spirit, a communal response to a loss or to a tragedy. That's what Barbados is about, not the division that I am seeing coming from that side. Now, starting, I don't know if tonight, tomorrow, there's the annual conference. Yes, you have your annual conference, you celebrate. But while the country is falling to pieces, while things have fallen to pieces already, when there seems to be no semblance of order or understanding, you are painting the town red. I don't know if you could see it, but I had forwarded to me that yesterday, while I stayed at home, I didn't know about it. Yesterday, Thursday, the 17th of October, under the BLP logo, all day,
Red Day.
Your red day, all day red day, red shirt, pants, dresses, skirts, shoes, socks, hair, bags, swimsuits, exercise gear, red everything. When the country is falling to pieces, red blood has been spilled all over this land. Where have they been? Is that the kind of red? Why did they not say that red blood? I'm not a happy trooper. I am not happy. You are calling people out. You can't hear anything from them concerning what's happening beyond that canned press conference. Without, not a press conference, what they call it, an address to the nation. You are not hearing anything. Blood is being spilled in school. When that child was stabbed, what came out of that child? Red blood. And you are asking for a red day. We rock our pretty socks on Down syndrome day. We wear pink for breast cancer. We wear purple. We wear all the other colors representing something that is meaningful. And you are asking people to rock red on Thursday, the 17th of October. That is no respect for a country. It is causing division, the kind of division that happened now. I have read a red shirt. A couple of red shirts were given to me, and I give them away because I said there's too much of that happening now. People are even afraid to wear red. I know it, Pastor Forde, because they don't want that kind of association and branding.
Yes.
Is that what Barbados is coming to? Rock red. Paint the floor as we can see there in red. Not only that, but do you know what? And they are painting the town red. I am listening, and I'm going to listen. I am going to listen to hear the rhetoric, the narrative, the fallacies, the misleading information. And you know that there are other words or synonyms that can be given to the term misleading information. The untruths, the pulling of the wool over our eyes. And I am listening out for the what you call it, the political showing off, the beating on the chest, and they will be painting the town red. Let me tell the listeners what that phrase painting on the town, painting red, because while Barbados is you're seeing more blacks, black and white, people at funerals, loss, lifelong grief. There will be no doubt painting the town red with their celebrations, with the catering. Just let me pull up the what painting the town red, because it's what they intend to do. It means to go out and enjoy oneself flamboyantly. Go out and, I didn't say it, but the Cambridge Dictionary says to paint the town red is to go out and enjoy yourself by drinking alcohol, dancing, laughing with friends. To paint the town red is an American expression meaning to go on a reckless debauch, to be wildly extravagant. Originally, the metaphor applied to bonfires. So they are going to be painting the town red, while Barbados is being held ransom, or we're being held over a well. And all you could think of is to rally up and work on people's psyche and saying have an all day. Now you see Pastor Forde and Glenn and the listeners, we can't take them seriously because it is out of the same two-edged sword mouth. The PM asked for a day of prayer. You remember?
Yes, I do.
And with the same breath, you are saying all day red. What message is that sending? Just like the all right tents that did, was it $2.5 million?
$5 million.
$5 million went to refurbish Austin. Still, Austin was closed 2 weeks ago for maintenance and refurbishing, where you get some paint and paint the floor just to celebrate. And we do know what the influences at the foundation school. The chair and the management of that board, it could not be more partisan.
Wow.
And blood is being spilled all over streets. When we thought that we were exhaling and getting a reprieve, I told my husband, shooting has stopped on the streets, but it has transitioned. There's no shooting in the schools, but the violence has transitioned to the schools. And this week alone, we heard of a shooting in Newton Crescent, the Pine. We heard of a stabbing incident at the St. Michael's School. And
You,
God knows what else went on that we have not heard,
you know,
that has been hush-hush.
on that matter, Rose, with the stabbing at St. Michael's School, just so we have a clarity for those that are listening. You shared with us just now your experience of being bullied by that lady, and inevitably what happened. They couldn't get you pulled off of her in your retaliation. My understanding, for those of you listening, is that the young lady who stabbed the other one complained to the school that she was being bullied by the one she stabbed with the scissors, and the school did nothing. I had a conversation up to today, Rose, with her great
Yes, please.
grandfather. Up to today, I spoke with him on the phone. And I will share, he shared this with me to make sure we get it clear on the show. The young lady who did the stabbing, all right? The young lady who inevitably, I think I have it right. The young lady who did the stabbing, she was being bullied. You see, when we have an educational system, and you mentioned something just now that I can't believe I heard you right, and I don't know, Glenn, if you heard what she said, but you mentioned something just now that the uh, teachers at the schools have been instructed not to get involved when students are fighting with one another. And someone actually posted in our chat that the teachers were instructed not even to assist a student who is suffering from asthma with the administering of their medication. Are we? I am hoping that these things are um, are allegations and stories are not true. Because I will remember when I was at school, the fights that broke out. Sometimes we even got involved to separate the students because we knew what would happen. And sometimes the teachers would come out and get involved as well to separate the students to keep the matter escalating to a irretrievable point. Now, that child that actually did the stabbing now, that child is now facing criminal proceedings because somebody in the school did not listen to her when she said she was being bullied. And so we need to revamp. We really desperately need to revamp how these processes are managed at the school. And I will say, it is going to take. The one thing I agree with, Rose, and I hope you'll agree with me on this. The one thing I agree with, I can't remember if it was the Minister of Education or the Prime Minister. The one thing I will agree with is that there's need to be a collaborative effort between the parents, the teachers, the schools, and the Ministry of Education to be able to rein in this reign of terror that is beginning to be inflicted upon our educational institutions. That is the one thing that I would say, because you can't blame the parents in totality, because sometimes parents do the best that they can, raise the child the best they can, and something will trigger that child in school that it could react a particular way that it's not being trained to. Then you can also have the teachers. I remember in the days, and you would know of this, Rose. I remember the days when my mother was a teacher. She was not just a teacher, she was a mother to some of these children. She was a psychologist. There were times she even had to be a lawyer for the parents, to the point, Rose, where parents used to come to see her because of issues in their household with the husband. These are the things that teachers used to be. I don't know, and I'm not going to be critical of teachers, but there's times I think in my mind that teaching has now become purely a profession. But in my mother's day, it was much more than that. It was not just ensuring that children receive the academics, but the skills and values of life were put into them. I remember doing domestic class, a boy doing domestic class, Rose,
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to cook, to develop my values and skills, not just to learn my arithmetic. It was what it was then, and English language, and that kind of thing. But I was taught all of these different things. We had little gardens that we did out in the back of the school as
Yeah.
children to help us develop this certain skill. It wasn't just to learn how to do a garden, it was to develop skills of looking after yourself and development and becoming industrious. All of, we didn't realize it at the time, but that was what the teachers were doing with us at the time. What has happened to all of this?
But Reverend Forde, I do agree with you. You were probably in the car as I was rehearsing aloud with my husband, because, as you know, we had to drive way out to attend to that matter. And I was rehearsing to him, and I was saying, I'm empathetic towards parents because, as you said, some parents do their best and their the outcomes do not always demonstrate that the parent has tried. Children have minds of their own, and they would choose even from the very best home, the homes that are nuclear, the homes that there are supportive partners, family members, neighbors. Sometimes the child disappoints and does not demonstrate that kind of enabling, positive enabling and nurturing. Um, I told my husband also that I become a little bit riled when fingers are pointed always at the church. And you, Pastor Forde, you use your position to defend that churches are doing things out there. They are doing things. But whenever those in authority, whenever this government falls short, they ask for the church to come in. The
That's
church,
right.
they
That's right.
brought in, and with due
That's right.
respect to the advisor who sat in on that meeting, that address to the nation from the Ministry of Education, a man I know very well. We grew up in the Big Holiness Church together. A devout man, loves the Lord, knows the word. Do not use the clergy as a semicolon. Do not use the church when your backs are against the wall, when you don't engage the church, even with the cybercrime bill, you're putting the church in a position that will render them helpless, as Pastor John
That's
Carter
correct.
pointed out, and you shared, Pastor Forde. I'm riled. I am a church member. My church, my member church, Abundant Life Assembly, goes into the community. We have crusades, we have house-to-house evangelism, we do helps in the immediate community and even beyond. What about First Baptist down constitutional work? The church in the city, in the heart of the city, with the city in its heart. They have programs in there for mentoring, helping young men, helping families. I belong to an organization. My husband's the president, chair, which one? But Family Faith Freedom Barbados. And you would have seen the articles sent to the nation, to the press. We've had rallies. You've heard the voice of Veronica, Dr. Veronica Evelyn, and other denominations, Catholic, Anglican, Methodist, Evangelical, Pentecostal, the Rastafarian, even Muslims. They reach out, but we cannot do the work of government. We cannot do the work of those we have elected to parliament. And I have not heard any MP standing up in the privileged, honorable lower and upper house and speaking to the matter of violence. I have not heard. And they will be painting the town red this weekend, inviting persons to do so from yesterday. Not only that, but I have not heard any solutions. If you have heard solutions, Glenn and Reverend Forde and anybody in the chat, let me know solutions. And one of the things that I was sharing, I said, how can we do it in the immediate short term? And if I were to make a suggestion, I was saying there should be something like a Noah's Ark, Noah, a Noah's Ark, a place of safety and refuge, designated at each school, a visible place. And when a child is being taunted, feels threatened, feels intimidated, that child should go into that secure place. Not a sign that I see, the signs that were up saying a no zone bullying, this school does not tolerate. It's all right to put up the signs, and the children pass the signs and don't even read them.
That's right.
Have a designated area, and where the child, when the child feels threatened, intimidated, helpless, that child retreats there. An adult goes immediately to the child, find out what is happening, records it, and make an immediate intervention between the child who is being victimized, hurt, beat on, intimidated, and the alleged perpetrator. A designated area. Another suggestion that I have, Pastor
before you move on, Rose, it wouldn't surprise me in the least if tomorrow or sometime next week you hear them come up with that idea.
And I will say thank you, won't we?
I mean, that is a brilliant idea, Rose, because every single one of these situations needs to be investigated, not for the case of punishment and so on, but for the case of trying to help the child, because we don't know the condition. My wife and I, in terms of ministry some years ago, we talked about the dysfunctional family, and we have a lot of dysfunctional families in Barbados, that children are coming to school from every day. And if something were put in place of this nature, where every school, you see something like this, you could have one school with two or three counselors, or even if you don't want to call them counselors, give them a different name that kind of lifts a person's value of themselves. I don't have a problem with Rose, but any other name is still a Rose, no pun intended. Uh, you know, but because you have so many people to Rose in our churches. We have several social workers in our churches. We have people who are trained in counseling in our churches. And I mean, when I say that, I don't just mean Pentecostal. That all of the churches have people
Yes.
in them who could be allocated to those kind of setups. And the problem here is, Rose, that the only time you hear this is if the government is going, and I said, really don't want to hear no more talk. I want to see action. If the government would only listen to some of the input from people like yourself and from Glyne, things could improve. But the arrogance, the pride that they possess prevents them from listening to solutions that could assist in the context of the child's development. And I like this idea. I think you called it Noah's Ark,
A Noah's Ark, a
a
place of
Noah's Ark, a
refuge, a
place of
safe
refuge.
area.
Yes, where
And
they can go.
that child, and if you see that child the child knows that I can run there,
Yes, yes. That
I
is an
can go
excellent
there,
suggestion.
and
Marvelous.
that the school has in place, the school has in place the support mechanisms, the support persons. Good Lord, use the money.
Yes, yes,
Take $5 million
yes.
to put tanks up the road and reserving that money as part of your right shirt extravaganza, your right shirt, and what's it called, electioneering. I'm getting lots of words now. Use the money, use the borrowed money, use the taxpayers' money. We are not getting it back from the pump. We are paying. I don't have sewage. I'm not attached to sewage, but every month the properties that we have that are not attached to sewage, we are paying for two
Millions of
properties.
dollars, millions of dollars.
You are getting money from us. Put the money to help our children. You are lost. You all are getting your pensions. Do
Glyne,
something about what's happening. And Pastor Forde, may I share another one that I was
just
rehearsing?
before you share another one, let's
Yes,
hear what
please.
Glyne, as you go through each one, let's hear what Glyne thinks about. Glyne, what do you think about this idea?
May Rose's idea,
Yeah.
I think has valid as merit, but I would think that it would have some help. Like she said, you'd have to have the support service and personnel there to make it function and serve its purpose. And there's
Hmm.
not a deserted place. It would have to be a whole concept operationalized from beginning to end, thought out, experiment to see what would best work for the person. But it is worth considering.
Yes, and
Uh,
I mean, yeah, go ahead,
yeah,
Glyne.
no, so, but this government is depending, and this is the first government in the history of Barbados I've ever seen ask the public to solve the problems for it. First, I mean, openly come and talk to us, tell us what to do. No, I mean, we elect people, not that they're perfect, not that they know everything, but that is their responsibility. They have the money, the resources, the contacts to put things into action, but set back and leave it to the rest of society is something that I don't subscribe to. Not where you contribute, make an input, but don't tell me. the onus is on the public would assist. And I think that is what is missing in this government is that there's not enough original, fresh thinking coming out. Again, because the same
It's
thing I mentioned
still,
earlier about
yeah, yeah,
the lack of consultation, reading, information,
reading. We don't
engagement.
know what's going on.
So
No,
um I don't want to change gears, but I just remember I made a note here that I saw an incident in the paper recently, probably Wednesday's paper, where remember the operation that went into Odessa McLean's Gap, where the police reported in defense of themselves, uh, exchanged fire with someone who died.
yes, in my
Right,
Lord's
right,
Hill, up in my Lord's Hill.
right, right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was
Now I
passing there
noticed
the
it,
very sad morning.
and I remember I spoke on the
Mm.
show about I could not. I've never been fair. I've never been tolerant of the community, the hostility, the anger, the intervention, the abuse, the physical, almost physical touching. I say that that should not be allowed. Well, I'm pleased to say that the police, and I want to commend the police. I say it makes people lose. If people don't fear the police, they will go to action toward the persons for that they went before the court and pleaded guilty. In other words, the police were part of take action against them. I've seen it go on Chapman, other places, and nothing happened. But I'm hoping this is part of the pushback on the police to show that you have to respect the law, you have to respect us, live within the laws.
Mhm.
Because otherwise they will run roughshod over you, right? So I'm hoping that that's the beginning. Because the truth is, you have to disrupt crime. If you allow crime to settle, it becomes more encrusted, consolidated. That's why you had the Red Sea government, you know. Remember the Red Sea government apologized to the Myanmar government? They've settled their institution, they call themselves a government. So you have to disrupt that culture. And also, remember you mentioned about the person being killed in shot dead in the plane. Interestingly enough, there's a quote in the paper from his mother where and it shows you the kind of culture that we already dealing with, not straightforward. She is saying he used to snatch the body purse up, the body purse. He was a good boy, right?
Mhm.
He said he was Robin Hood. He robbed an arcade to give to the poor. See the rationalization?
Mhm. Sure.
She said he they snatched about the person that he was Robin Hood. He was a Robin Hood. He sort of robbed the arcade. He robbed an arcade to give to the poor. So if you rationalize it and justify it, it shows that we have a lot of work to do in the counterculture, the other the alternatives being offered to people, and you can therefore see why it's so something so hard to get these things broken into because people have their vested interest in it. All right.
But
So it really so I pick up those two things because they're related, but they're reflecting a positive outlook on action with the police, and also a negative attitude and set of values that if every neighborhood, every block group in Barbados sees their activities as good, robbing from the rich to give to the poor, it is worse than we thought.
yeah, you know, while and before we move on to your next point, we still have a good bit of time, Rose, so we're not going to rob you of your time.
That's all
But
right.
you know, Glenn, Rose,
Yes,
uh,
please.
we had such a discipline in school. You remember we could not leave school. Go. Oh, I could not leave Harrison College Gap without my epaulets on. You know, and I was only expected to be on the street with my school uniform on for a specified period of time. And then you had to be off the street. Otherwise, anybody encountering you, especially if it was a teacher, would want to know what are you doing on the street at this time in school uniform. And even if we took off our epaulets, a lot of our teachers knew who we were. So you couldn't hide. And you know, we had to be careful. There's certain things that you got suspended from school for. You know, we weren't we could never carry sharp implements to school. But sometimes you would get a fight every now and again. And you remember the dividers and the compasses line that they would have in
Right,
the
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
geometry set,
Yeah.
and you would take it out and or even a pencil and stab somebody with a pencil. You were removed from school for a period of time. So there was always the level of discipline that carried forward from home into the school. You couldn't just behave how you like. I remember, I'm sorry to tell you this joke, but I remember one day got in a fight with a guy at school, and I bit him on his chest. He had me in a hole, and I bit him on his chest to try and get out of it, huh? And we both ended up going to Mr. Marshall's office. I don't know if you all remember Heads Marshall. He used to be the deputy principal at Harrison College, and he would interrogate us. And when I got into his office, he asked me, "Young Nichols, why did you bite the young man on his chest?" I said, "Sir, I did not bite him on his chest. I closed my teeth, and his chest got between my teeth." He said to me, Glenn. He said, "Well, let me say this to you. I am going to lower my hand, and your behind is going to get in the way of my killing."
Yeah.
And I got a good hiding from him for biting the boy in the chest. This the I think one of the last fights I ever had, and definitely the last time I ever bit anybody.
Um,
you know,
but
you,
but
you,
but you see, um, Rose talked earlier about the failure and the degradation and the uh, almost dissolution of some of social institutions, and it pains me very very much that one of the institutions, an area of of which we were so proud, which we did so well, which helped to channel and funnel and fuel the development virus, education is
mhm.
in total sham. We used to
Yes,
export education, educators. We were renowned for it, and now it is in total shambles. I mean, only in Barbados would a prime minister allow a minister of education to go to church. Confusion, time
and
after
not
time
and
after,
not remove
and not
And
them.
doing
no,
anything about it. I mean, it's
and shift
unbelievable.
them.
Let
And
me tell you something.
I am saying that I don't even hear the other minister that they shifted, Honorable Sandra Husband. I really thought that when she was shifted into the ministry, that given her background in education and training and development, that we will see a grip of
A
sort.
chef.
She is not even invited to any of the press conferences or statement to the nation or whatever. There's
That
nothing.
that was a political move, not to
Yeah, but
enhance
you
education. That was a political act of convenience, a political convenience, not to enhance education.
but you were going to make a point as well too, Glenn. I
Um,
don't know if you
I
remember what
I'm
it
remember.
was.
sorry. I'm
I
sorry
No,
about
no,
the
no, that's
no no
fine.
no
interruption.
No,
problem.
no,
No, I
no,
got it.
no, no, no.
It came back to me.
Uh-huh.
When we have how long? How many hundred years have we been opening schools? That used to be a virtual routine. I myself, from time to time, have had to act as Minister of Education when I was in government. I remember this one particular. The last time I acted as Minister of Education was in 2001 when David Summers had resigned as Attorney General and people for St. Thomas, and they had Mia Motley became Attorney General, right? And Ornath got me to act as Minister of Education. At the time when there was a by election in St. Thomas, and obviously on the eve of the opening of school, so my political and other instincts tell me you cannot afford to have a called by election is a referendum. All kind of
Mhm.
things. But by election might be sent off, but all other issues will come in. You can't afford to have anything go wrong with the opening of school to affect. Plus, I think Cynthia Forde was the parliamentary secretary of education, something like that. So I did. I set up an early meeting with this during the by-election. I set up an early meeting with the PS, and we work out a plan of action where it was constant monitoring. Each morning by 8:30, I must have a report what happened yesterday. I hit 8:30 because if there any problem, we have time to correct it during the day. And it went, I never had a problem. You must have systems. Know how to operationalize. You must see things. But I don't understand how something else. They tell me part of the problem with the schools is that shortage of money. Or even though you got $10 million put down for maintenance in schools, is doesn't go into a bank account one time for at the first of April, new financial year. The fulfilling of those commitments on paper is left to the availability of funds in the general economy and the choices the Minister of Finance has to between you and this and that. So very often the money is not there to do things when they want. Then they tell me the process of repairs and maintenance is heavily politicized. Contractors who don't know what they're doing, contractors who politically appointed don't have resources to mobilize and start a work to do it early to get finished by time. They have to wait for the money to come from the government, and that delays the whole process. That's why it's compounded over and over again because of the system, the heavy politicization of the system. But there used to be a department in the Ministry of Education run by a man called Mr. Harrison. I remember his name well. They used to take care of that, and it was relatively straightforward. It's been always consistent day by day. I mean, Grandy Adams schools were out action over almost 3 weeks. So something is wrong with the management of the system. If the system served us so well before, obviously because of a certain management, and I'm glad you mentioned your father-in-law, Mr. Sam Corbin, who was well respected, a tower of strength, highly respected professional civil servant. I dealt with him a number of times, and he represented the old breed of civil servant that people say are too colonial, they don't want them anymore. And we did well because of that. So we are suffering from that, the absence of those approaches and skills and technique and attitude and values and whatnot. So that is why we are repeating the same problem in areas. Not that things were perfect, but we do not have this litany of woes, and I mean it's embarrassing. You can't
Yes, it
open it.
is. Terrible, terrible, terrible.
The ministry says this all is open, and then weeks thereafter, this is what week 4, 5, 6, still problems. It really. So what I'm saying that, what part of the problem too is that we used to have growing up in Spooners, there was a certain respect for education, for getting it, for
Yeah,
appreciating it,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I remember following my sisters to school. I was about 3. I walked behind. I saw my sister going across the ground. We worked the back town to Grace Hill. They went to school. And one morning, I walked in, and the teachers asked me, "Young man, what are you doing here?" I said, "I came to do what my sisters are doing." And they put me down on the floor. I remember the blocks. There were those rock blocks with letters and colors, A, B, C.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is where my beginning. That's where it started. And I went to school. So I'm saying, because that was the family, that was the only way of getting out of poverty, and people took pride. Um, Teachers some parents who never went to high school or even went to 7th standard took pride in making sure their children got a good education at the house because they come here, get 5 level, 3A level. That was the thing. But right now, all that appreciation for education as a process and an inherent value for the rest of your life is gone.
Oh,
People
wow,
now want to
wow,
make money through others. So
wow.
until you resuscitate and recultivate that appreciation for in practice where parents want, where parents are prepared to teach you how to read. No child should go to school at 5 and should know the letter A, B, C, can know the alphabet. Shouldn't, right? So until you do that thing, if you do it and leave for the school, for the nursery school to teach them how to, yes, please, good morning. And then when they go to school, they have to teach how to read. The whole school, the whole system, you're falling behind time every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Until we go back to the beginning, to first principles. First
Hmm.
principles no, are never wrong.
Yeah.
Go back to first principle and go to the step by step rudimentary. Let me make my last point on this score. I've argued for a long time. Now, in the same way, when a woman is pregnant, she gets prenatal
Here.
advice and care and instruction
Hmm.
from the nurse, documents and medication, get advice how to what to eat, how to behave, what to do with the child, and then you get postnatal after the child is born. From the time a woman is pregnant, she should be exposed to information that's about how the child develops and what she can do to assist. Because children learn from the time they're in the womb. Talk, talk to it, read to it, sing to it. I explained it to my family when I did psychology in Canada, and it works. Life is about stimulus and response. As you stimulate them early, they will get a particular response. If you don't do that, and other voids, I think fill the void, you have an uphill battle from there on. So they should know that not only physiologically or
Hmm.
food and drink and nutrition, take your medication, get your shots or whatnot to prevent illness. They should be nurturing the child emotionally, psychologically, intellectually while they and have an appreciation. And therefore, when the child is born, they start to talk, think, sing, read. Guys, what stimulate children, and
Yes.
not magical about it, you know.
Yes.
They say people
Yes.
train horses and dogs to do certain things because you get stimulus and response. You get stimulus and response, reward and punishment. If
Hmm.
those four
Hmm.
rules are applied, that will make a lot of difference to life in Barbados.
Well, Rose, you
Yes,
know,
please.
you got to the designated area, which we call Noah's Ark. I saw comments that some people like that idea. What's the next one?
My next point is might be a bit radical, but if
But
it seems as though, sorry, um, I wanted to send Dave this. Give me a minute, please. Um, all right, let me turn it off. We might not have time. Go ahead and send him a video. I'm sorry about that. If these children are going to school intent on bullying, they know the terrain already. Conti saying they have the intelligence, you know what they talk about.
hmm.
Uh, the country got the intelligence. These children already know the layout of the school. They know that the hands of the teachers are weakened, either by instruction from the ministry, or they know that teachers are fearful. Pardon me. We saw the case yesterday with that teacher struggling on her own. It may be radical. Why not install what panic buttons in the classroom so that when a situation like that arises, the teacher presses the button which is connected to security or which calls for help or alerts others that something is happening in uh, Form Form 42. A teacher should not, given the atmosphere, the climate, and the culture within our schools now, teachers need to have that backup system. A panic button, something that the teacher can press and say, look, come quickly to our assistance.
Hmm. Well, let me ask you a question, and I'm writing it here, and maybe you can both answer this. Because you talk about a panic button, but something else just went through my mind. I don't know if you had this as one of your ideas in terms of a solution, but do we have camera surveillance in our schools?
I was coming to that, Pastor Forde. And as I was coming to that, I remember George Orwell, 1984, when
Yes.
I was in England. in 1984 as a student, and I panicked all through as we were coming to the close of 1983, and I kept saying, "Big brother's coming, big brother." And I used to walk the streets and look around to see if the cameras were being installed. But I am seeing that they should be with the technology now. I
Yes,
mean,
yes,
they should be. This is our reality.
that's correct.
And I heard Glenn talking about, I called it deterrent, but I heard Glenn using words like disrupting the system, that you need to get in there and disrupt and turn it around. It cannot be business as usual. And if we are having children going to school bent on not learning, bent on intimidating, bent on, you remember the last time I talked about, do we have mafias in our school? Bent on what? Extraditing, that's the word. There's another word, taking away the children's lunch monies and the cell phones and the haversacks and all the above. We need to install closed circuit television in the schools and let the children, I'm very sorry, but let the children know that you are under the watch and
Well,
it can be retrieved. I did not want our schools to reach this point. But when I saw how that boy, all that was left for was for that young man to kick that girl. And I was worried. I was mothering all in the car this evening. Studies have shown that if you become a bully in your early years, you will continue to demonstrate those tactics. You will become a woman beater. You would become one who perpetrates those kind of acts against others. And we, in the meantime, until we can bring it to zero, and we've gone past zero. We've gone long past zero. We've gone now into other figures, 3 figures, and whatever. We need to put drastic systems in place to deter.
I'm thinking, Rose, that when you look at, okay, I know we had an issue with the customs, and I think it was during Arthur's administration, Glenn, we had an issue with installation of cameras in customs. You remember that one?
Yes, please.
There was
It still has not happened.
Still has not happened, right?
Still has not happened.
The unions, I think, threatened to shut the country down if that was done. But I don't know what there was hiding. But that's another subject for another time. We have cameras installed in banks. We have cameras installed in supermarkets. We have cameras on the highway that look at your number plate to tell if the car is registered or licensed correctly or not. We got face recognition cameras on the highways. We have cameras even when you are going into sporting facilities. All these kind of things we have. We need to be able to use technology to let me get the right word, to not discredit. What's the word I'm looking for, Glenn? You know what I'm trying
Discourage,
to
discourage,
discourage. Thank you.
dissuade, right?
Yeah, to cause people to think twice before you do something, because what was the word? Something is watching you. What was the word you were trying to use just now, Rose? Not Big Daddy. That
Big
is
brother, big
Big Brother
brother.
is watching you. Where you have cameras in strategic
But
locations
but
outside of the
Ferdy,
schools.
that was part of the objection to the cameras at customs.
Yeah,
And
I
who
know.
knows, the teachers' unions might not want to subscribe with that because they themselves be under scrutiny.
Right,
They
because
them to be
here,
under camera,
yeah, but
right?
here's what somebody is telling us, and let me put it there in the chat very quickly. Said Rev, we started installation at LEVS, Lester Vaughan School, but we were turfed out in 2018.
Okay.
It's like
Okay.
people, I've
Which,
always
which,
said, if you in doing something wicked
but
and wrong, it should not be a problem.
but Ferdy, I'm glad you said that. 'Cause it gives me a segue into the a point I know you had to make here.
Hmm.
The part of the problem with the education, Barbados, is that government has become very, very indulgent. I am yet to hear any logical, radical reason, any any rationale, any explanation as to why hairstyles, any hairstyles were liberalized, so to speak. That any hairstyle, cause I still remember uniform means uniform, the same exact. So how could you have a uniform, uh, hair, a different hairstyles, a dress, a type? So I don't understand why the government part of that was so important. Children leaving school before be able to read and write, and the first thing to do is tell they can read here so they and express themselves in reading and writing and arithmetic, things that matter. So when you indulge, well, that's pandering to the lowest common denominator
Yeah.
because you want your child to go through with a particular hairstyle or a particular school bag style. All that are the frivolities that we've indulged in to the detriment to the basic principles of what we need to get out of our education. Nobody, I don't know if Rose heard any reason as to why they justified uh, change that where people had different style hairstyle depending men, boys hair plait and girls hair comb. And it destroys what uniform means. It destroys a set of and uniform means discipline.
Yeah.
Conformity, uniformity. It is discipline. All those things, you can wear what you like. All those have to inform the thought in discipline or not being disciplined or not following rules in a young child impressionable mind. And you pay the price for it now.
The thing is too is that I know that people the discussion now is the decolonizing of education, and I invite discussion and measures that would seek to modernize, in a sense, the curriculum, making it appropriate. And people see this whole thing of uh, what you're talking about, Glenn, the grooming, the hairstyling, the strict requirements for hairstyling as part of the part of the what's the word, part of the
The-
past, the
Uh-huh.
past. And so it is liberalizing, one way of liberalizing that the uniform doesn't matter. I think it may have been the forerunner to not wearing uniforms.
Yeah.
That may have been part of the move towards um, consider part of the considerations for education reform that we will do away with uniforms. And I am seeing, I have gone into the Spice Town bus terminal. I was there for about 2 hours last week. And I saw some outrageous hairstyles, both on girls and on the males. And I'm saying to myself, I'm glad I'm out of the classroom. So these are the things that have have been played very subtly too,
Yeah,
that on the psyche of students. And it makes them, in a sense, saying, look, we've got power. We've got power. We can do as we like,
I,
you know,
I,
and
I, I, And that a law that has come out of North America, a law that we have fallen too much. Let me think. You probably have not even. You see, when I went to school, even at high school, where you had a speech there, that was a major occasion. Now you have primary school having graduation. And the Americanization the whole way. You have to buy gowns and motorbike and dress and don't forget when you leave in high school, it's worse. All those are frivolous things that don't matter that we've taken on. And a lot of teachers, a lot of parents have to buy clothes and spend $100 for the children to go to graduation. We used to go from school to school and pass out before any problem for all the festivity and the spending of money because it's in the
Yeah,
interest of the
hundreds,
Americans to do
hundreds and
that because
hundreds
they
of
are the
dollars.
ones exporting the material and the gowns and whatnot.
Yeah,
It's business.
you
I
know,
think that is a bit retro. I never appreciated that at all. Never.
there is a caption. There's a clip here, Rose and Glenn, that Dave pulled up that he thought would be an interesting perspective. So let's just hear what he has come up with. We have just a few minutes left
Okay.
um,
Yes, please.
on this show. Let's just hear what he's come up with. Go ahead, Dave.
As an artist and a person who knows the importance of expression, I think that our youth are in a position where they do not have outlets. They do not understand the importance of expression and releasing things outside the body. The opposite of expression is suppression. And what we are seeing now with our youth taking in all of the secondhand trauma from social media, all the things that they should not be seeing from a very young age, is what is resulting in a lot of what we see happen on social media. So we are raising them up with devices and they do not rumble outside, they do not interact as we would have growing up. And then it is like that is their community. That is now their community where they interact with each other. So we used to have conflict inside of the community. That's how they have conflict as well. So you cannot put a bill where you penalize the youth that already necessarily don't understand their impact. They don't understand the consequences of their actions in a space which is basically familiar to them, right? And I want to say that if we look around our island right now, people are going through so much and the youth do not understand how to express themselves. I was always fortunate where I was in dance, I am in poetry, I create art and stuff like that, and it's very important to be able to express. And because the children are not doing that, they're it is coming out basically in different ways, and ways that are negative. Basically, we have seen children carrying school cutlasses and different things like that. They do not know conflict resolution. And for me, what we are doing with this bill is we are going to put a lid on an already bubbling pot. And when you put a lid on a bubbling pot, we already know what happens. We do not want to see the destruction of the boil over. So I encourage you to, instead of suppressing the children, let them express themselves in a healthy way. Teach them to express themselves in a healthy way. Thank you.
Wow. I mean,
Powerful.
yeah, and I don't want people to take us wrong here, uh, Rose Gline. But and I saw somebody make mention of it, and I put it into the chat that we had just now, that they are. Let me see if I can find it very quickly. They were saying how. Let me see if I can find it. I regret the need, and I'm just going to put it in here for us to see. I regret the need for cameras in school. We need to stop the deep moral decline in Barbados. We also need a nationalist philosophy of education. You know, um, the moral decline, and Glenn, I think you would agree with me, to a large degree begins with the adults. Because a child, the first interaction a child has with authorities within the context of the family. where they learn morals and values. And I'm not blaming, I don't want to lay the blame at the feet of parents. What I am
Right.
saying is there is a significant contribution that is made where the first encounter with authority is the parent. And I'm just wondering, if we're going to retrieve and forgive me, then when our young people sit down and listen to our governmental authorities conduct themselves in the manner that they do, certainly not like they used to in the days gone by, Klein,
Yeah. But
then the
Ferdy,
example is
for
set there for that decline. And how can we retrieve that? And we got a few minutes. Well, we ain't got much time. So let me ask you all for your closing comments within the context of that or anything else you want to
yeah,
go ahead.
I leave the final word for Rose, but just to say that from the time a child is born, it is
Mhm.
absorbing,
Yes,
observing,
yes,
recording. That's
yes.
why you hear when a child reaches a certain age, they will say certain things or do certain. And the mother said, well, we get that word from, but they
Mm.
have imitate. They learn through imitation. So if you are conscious that your actions, your words, your behavior are influencing your child from the cradle, you have a great appreciation of the role you have to play as a responsible child to help produce a child that is better fitted for the world and not depend on these teachers and the rest of the world to raise your child for you. I remember my two children. The first thing I taught my two children was no. Crying the cry, I take their finger and hit no, no, no. And then they learn early that there's a limit to your behavior. That was the discipline. And I think I gave them lashes once each time, each person in their entire life. Because they understand that this you observe, you impose it from early. Your language, behavior, they are watching you. You have to be conscious. Therefore, you tailor your behavior to suit them that they will get the right things to imitate. Otherwise, it's really, like I said, an uphill battle.
Thank you so much, Klein. Rose?
And I endorse all that Glenn has said. And there is more that I would want to speak to concerning um, some practical deterrents. We touched on three of them tonight, which would have been that safe place for the student, getting quickly in place support systems, social support, social and psychological and emotional support within the school through various agents. Um, we're also looking at um, I was looking to at 2019 June, not June, May, almost a year after the BLP came into power, where the Prime Minister was talking about zero tolerance for violence in school, and where she said, I didn't know, Pastor Forde, that the Edna Nichols School was closed. I now read it here.
Really?
Yes, may I share it with you quickly? You
I,
seem
I
so.
didn't know that. I did not know that either.
Permit us 1 minute, please. I'm sure that Dave would allow us this. I just read it here and I wanted to
Where
share.
did you read it?
On 2019, the 5th of May, Barbados today or loop.
Okay, May the 5th, 2019.
Yes. Oh, I had it here. I had it here. More search results. Um, okay, I have it. May the 21st, 2019. Permit me quickly to read it for you. Barbados today, government's new plan to tackle the violence in school appears to begin in mostly supportive responses, During the meeting, the Prime Minister announced a series of initiatives that will be introduced to tackle student and student on teacher violence in the island's public schools. Social workers are to be introduced to primary schools. Additional guidance counselors are to be deployed to vulnerable secondary schools, and Defense Force soldiers and police are to step up joint patrols in the bus terminals, aboard buses, plan the routes students travel, and outside schools, she revealed. The Prime Minister outlined plans for the creation of a facility similar to the now closed Ed Nichols Center to cater to troubled children. So I have to do my research to find if the Ed Nichols Center was closed prior to 2018. But this is what Barbados today is seeing. And I have some other ideas on what can be done not to victimize the perpetrator, but to a kind of rehabilitation for the perpetrator, and a kind so I'm looking that through. I'll come back to speak again, but in the meantime, remember the Painting the Town raid and what Ending started, and we explained what painting the town means to enjoy yourself flamboyantly. It's a form of debauchery, the drinking and the dancing and all those kind of things, and the partying. But on the other hand, I noticed that there is something called painting the town blue, which represents solemnity, where you're solemn, where you're reflective, even depressed. But we won't be depressed. We're saddened. We are saddened by what's happening. But we will not allow the red paint to douse us or to douse us. We will keep our heads up. We will avoid the red paint. We will avoid the wool that is being pulled over our eyes. We will avoid that red paint blood on the brush that wants to daub us into becoming one of them. Listen out for the rhetoric. Listen out for the narratives. Listen out for the bragging. Listen out for the misleading information. Listen out for the contradictions. And be careful in your decisions, how you make your decisions. You have a right to choose for yourselves and choose wisely. We also must continue this crusade for education to get the best and to get it back on track of some semblance of order.
Thank you.
I am passionate about it.
Thank you so much.
I want to see a change.
Forde, if you could give me just 2 seconds. When Rose was making references to painting the town red, I fully expect that a true indication of the sad state of affairs, of the quality of leadership and management of the Barbados Labour Party is that when you can have an annual conference, when a highlight of an annual conference be the finals of a karaoke competition. That's one of the fun. I fully expect that next year you might have lucky dips, jumping tents, hula hoops, etc. It is gone to frivolity and nonsense. A karaoke competition, I think the prize, $2,500 is the prize they win. But at a political party, a serious political party, I just watched the British, the Americans, the conservative, labor, their annual conference. No such frivolity. Serious business
Very serious business.
ideas of
Very serious business. Let
a
me tell you.
karaoke competition.
Very serious
Ah,
business, and our business in this country is very serious. And I listen to the rhetoric when the prime minister is overseas doesn't reflect what's happening in our country.
no.
And I'll tell you, um, look, we can let this thing really overwhelm us and get really angry. And sometimes people think that we're just being critical of the government for being critical state. No, we're not. These are issues.
Are we telling lies?
That
Are
Yes.
we
is it.
lying?
That is the question
Are
right
we
there.
lying?
Are we
Right.
lying? That's the
Exactly.
question you have to ask yourself. Someone put in the chat, Glenn and Rose, that maybe they closed down the school in retaliation to me not supporting Mia and her group anymore. But as far as I know, my brother and my sister are still supporters of the Labour Party. So that's 2 to 1. So they shouldn't have closed it down for me. And if they did, then my brother and sister should take it up with them and get them past that childish, stupid, ignorant conduct and behavior. That is what we need to get past. We need to get adults running administration and government and move the children out so that we can get some results in this country. Well, listen, guys, it's been a pleasure having you guys on tonight. There were a couple of others that were to join us. Unfortunately, they were unable to, but I'm so grateful, Glenn, that you were able to stay with us throughout the entire show. And
My
Rose, so
pleasure.
glad that you could have come in. I mean, I do know you had a busy evening, and tell you, it's a good thing you didn't get the chance to prepare because if you had got the chance to prepare, I don't know what would have happened. But I will put you on alert. I will put you on alert that you are going to be with us on Sunday. I'm giving you an early announcement, and I'm giving it in front of the loyal opposition, so they'll be looking for you. But we hope you'll be able to make it on Sunday, and maybe you can continue with solutions because it is necessary to be critical, but I believe what the public needs to hear are some solutions as well. And I'm very grateful for these three: installation of panic buttons, installation of surveillance cameras, and a designated area, which you could call Noah's Ark, but a place where the children can go and find a sense of safety and security and help. And those are three areas that I'm sure can be explored and expanded upon and streamlined in terms of what could happen. So thank you both so very much for staying with us throughout the entire show. I really appreciate it, Glenn. I know you've been on for almost the entire 3 hours with me, and I'm deeply grateful for that. Thank you for your revelation concerning Sir Henry. And indeed, again, we repeat our deepest condolences from our team here at the Marcy Week Show and all of us involved, and from the loyal opposition to the family of Sir Henry de Beulah Forde. Uh, Dave is going to take us out in whatever way he wishes. But I know that there are some songs that people are always expecting to hear. So, Dave, I'm just going to step out of the way and let you take us out tonight. So, God bless
I
you
know I'm just
guys.
an prosecutor, my brother. I tell you this already. I want money.
Wait, say what?
Money.
Whoa!
Money.
Yo!
I want money.
Wait, she really said that for you?
Money. I know I'm just an prosecutor, my brother. I want money.
Whoa!
Money.
Whoa!
Money. Money. Money.
Yo!
Money.
You hear that?
Money.
She want money, yeah?
I want money. I want money.
You hear that? She want money, yeah?
I know I'm just an prosecutor, my brother. I tell you this already. I want money. Money. I want money.
Boy, she only care about the money. Bye, girl. Bye.
Dancers, come forward, walk out. This one I got worldwide.
Just days after former government backbencher Ralph Thorne crossed the floor, he's taken the oath of office as leader of the opposition.
Cross the floor, let me do it some more like Ralph Thorne. Ralph Thorne. Put me on the side.
Are these trips so important? Yes, I'm for real, member. I am for real. Don't let me talk out your business. Don't let me talk out your business. All right.
And I can't decide, so I'm moving with the tide. Cause I'm ready to mash up the body. Oh gosh, I can mash up the body. So let me do this now. Cause I'm ready to mash up the body. Oh gosh, I can mash up the body. Yes, yes. So let me go now. Cross the floor, cross the floor, cross the floor. Let me do it some more like Ralph Torn. Ralph Torn. On the other side, cross the floor.
There has to be some order here.
Cross the floor, let me do it some more like Ralph.
The Minister of Finance is not party to this present transaction, Your Honor. Ask him to keep quiet, please. And I say to you further, Mr. Speaker, that my conscience, my location here is related to my conscience. I said it last year. It is well with my soul.
Take a wine on the left side, and I can't decide, so I'm moving with the tide, moving with the tide. Take a wine on the right side, take a wine on the left side, and I can't decide, so I'm moving with the tide. Cause I'm ready to mash up the body. Oh gosh, I can mash up the body. So let me do this now. Cause I'm ready to mash up the body. Oh gosh, I can mash up the body. Yeah, yeah. So let me go now. Cross the floor, cross the floor, cross the floor. Let me do it some more like Ralph Torn. Ralph Torn. On the other side, cross the floor, cross the floor, cross the floor. Let me do it some more like Ralph Torn. Ralph Torn.
That is my man, so whether he cross or in cross, he will always be there for us.
I came to a point where I had to take the decision that if my philosophical and political views do not accord with those of government in terms of its legislation, in terms of its policy, the relationship becomes untenable.
Well, I tell you, good night again. Good night, Rose. God bless you. Good night, loyal opposition. Have a great, great weekend. And you're going to need to tune into the show on Sunday night. You're going to be in for a big surprise, and I won't say any more. All right. So God bless, guys. Have a great, great weekend and take care. Bye bye.